Please don't spoil the movie by adding your own soundtrack. Hi, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I would be the king of the pirates.
What?
Excuse me. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I will be the king of the pirates.
I'm just going to bypass that nonsense. My name is Blair Waldorf. Something normal and sensible.
Well, someone has been on. I watched this show called One Piece. I'm sure you've seen it.
One Piece?
One Piece.
One Piece?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
It's like the #1 show on Netflix for a little bit.
Oh, really? I haven't been on Netflix lately.
It's based off, it's the live action version of the anime version. So I watched the live action version.
So there's an anime version of this thing?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it ever.
It's on Netflix. It was pretty good. The main guy's name is Monkey D. Luffy, and he wants to become the king of the pirates.
How fascinating.
Yes, I tried watching the anime thing, but I don't think I like anime that much.
Yeah.
I just don't get the yelling and but the live action was pretty good.
I'll have to check it out. Probably won't, though.
And of course, Blair Waldorf is from Gossip Girl, obviously.
Obviously.
Obvi.
Only got that because I looked at these books that I have here, and I was like, oh my god, which one of these has a character?
I got that.
It's a Gossip Girl right there. I don't
Did
even
you
know
ever
why
read the book?
No, I don't even know how that got there.
Yeah, I don't even know how I got that either. You probably borrowed that from someone and never gave it back.
I want to say Ciara gave it to me.
Okay, maybe she gave it to you. I didn't know Ciara was into the reading of the Gossip Girl.
She read the Gossip Girl books, I think, and she read the Click books.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. She likes a bitchy mean girl book series.
You should tell her to read the original Mean Girl story.
But that's a self-help book.
Oh, right. You did say that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's true. What you been up to? How's life?
Let's see. Any updates? Same old. Nothing new, really. Nothing new at all.
No shows, no movies.
No, I don't have time for any of those things.
Oh my goodness, she's so busy, everyone.
We're so busy. We're in the swing of football season. I don't have anything or any time to do anything.
Oh my goodness. Drama.
I did go to the mortuary last night with some of my teammates.
Okay, that's fun. How was that? Was the line super long?
It was long, but it moved. I don't know how long we're in line, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay. It's
kind of like standing like in a line at a ride. At an amusement park.
But then you only go for 15 minutes and the ride wasn't that fun.
Right.
Was it scary? Did you find it scary?
It wasn't that bad. It was just like they would pop out and it was like, oh. It was hard to tell who was animatronic and who was real.
Last time I went, it was like a laser tag situation. Did y'all have that?
Well, that's crazy. No. Laser tag?
It was like you got a gun and you're supposed to shoot them. I don't know what that was about.
Oh my God. Absolutely not.
It was for Halloween time.
Why are they trying to reinvent the wheel here?
I don't know. I don't know if we went on a special night, but they gave us guns. It's interesting.
But I was skeptical about going at first because so they were like planning it, or we were planning it, because I'm the head of the events committee, but I didn't plan this at all. Can't take any credit for it. But when they were like planning it or whatever, some of like the teammates were like, well, and I've been before, but they're like, well, I don't know, because it's right next to a cemetery and I feel like that's disrespectful and I don't want to like disturb those spirits and get bad juju. And I was like, ooh, that's a point.
Oh, was it? I was like, oh my God, people, calm down.
No, I was like, oh wait, that's so true. I mean, when you really think about it, to put a haunted house on top of like a gravesite is a bit rude.
It's next to, not on top of one, right?
I guess it's next to it, but still.
I don't know. I feel like
they're right there. The spirits are right there.
The city even want this one big juju. So I don't know.
One big bad juju.
Cemeteries everywhere.
So I almost didn't go, but then I decided to go at the last second.
It's not that scary.
It wasn't scary.
Yeah.
It was, but it wasn't the fact of like, oh, I was scared to go because I was scared of being scared. It was the fact that I don't like the idea of it being next to the spirits. Right.
Excuse me.
If this was the House of Shock, I'd have been like, yeah, let's do this.
I'm sure if anyone has to be concerned, it's the people who work there. I'm sure they have some great stories. Unless they like, maybe every night before they start, they do like a get out.
Oh, and that's so crazy. I'm glad you brought that up. So before we went there, we were talking. We all went to dinner before. So some people decided not to go because they were scary, but like some majority of us decided to go to the mortuary after, right? So one of the girls on the team who I was sitting next to, she was telling me, we're all like sharing like our scary story experiences, and she was telling us how what's the one where you like sleep and then you're like awake but you're still sleeping?
Oh, sleep paralysis.
She has sleep paralysis, right?
Sleep paralysis.
And then everyone's like, oh yeah, I have sleep paralysis. I have sleep paralysis. I was like, y'all are lying. You don't have freaking sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis. But she was telling her story, right? And she was saying like how she really has it. And like how she like had to learn how to wake herself up out of it and different things like that. And basically this girl was saying how she sees freaking dead people. And so she was saying how her family lived in a house somewhere. They moved into the house. They rented it out, whatever. And every night, and she would have sleep paralysis every so often. It wasn't like a regular thing. But while she was living in the house, she would have it every night for like a month.
Oh, that's crazy.
And every night, this guy, this
crazy.
dark figure would show up. And then every night, he'd get closer and closer
That's hilarious.
and closer. And how every night she couldn't wake up.
Yeah.
And then she said, like, the second to last night, he was, like, hovering over her. And she finally told her mom, and they, like, packed their shit up and they left.
Oh, good.
And then, so they moved into another house, the house that they live in, like, now, right? And she was saying, this only happened once, but she was saying one time she was sleeping. And she said, every time she's ever seen anybody, when she has sleep paralysis, it's always been a dark figure. Like, that guy who came to her every night for a month was, like, a dark shadow, whatever. She said, this one time, it was, like, a bright light.
Oh,
and she was like, and it was a little boy, and
So
he
cute.
was hovering on top of her, and he was like, find me, please find me.
Oh, no, I will not. Find yourself.
And I was like, oh my God, Paige, like, what's
Is he
going
buried
on?
in the walls?
And then I was like, what? And she was like, well, the house that we live in, she was like, it's on 5 acres of land. I was like, okay, rich bitch. And then she was like, and then beyond it is like the woods. And I was like, Paige, he's buried somewhere in the yard. And then she was like, no, like, that's what I'm really scared about. And I was like, well, has he ever come back to you? And she was like, no. And she was like, it's weird because usually when I see people, they come back to me more than once or like once or twice. And how she was saying the dark figure came to her like literally every night for a month. And she was saying, she even said like, and she was saying how she didn't want to do this because her mom tells her if you call on one, you call on them all.
She looked close.
And she was just like repeating, I don't know if she was doing it in her sleep or what, and she was just like repeating, if you're real, show yourself again, like come back, if you're real, come back, if you're real, come back. But he never came back.
Oh, okay.
So, but I was like hopefully during this conversation, like this will bring him back to you this night. And I was like, Paige, you've got to go out there and dig a shovel and find him. I was like, I will help you only during the day, but you must do it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wait, like you're like a psychic.
Right, a little.
I was like, you're literally Jennifer Huge Tits in the Ghost Whisperer.
Yes, she's a ghost whisperer. Right.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's why I don't sleep with my back anymore.
Oh,
because I would get sleep paralysis, but I would see things, but not the same person.
Oh, really?
I'd see like a skeleton or like I would see creepy things.
Oh, it's so crazy. I've never experienced that.
And sometimes I've had sleep paralysis and I've seen nothing. But there's been some times when I've seen stuff and I cannot wake myself up. So that's why I don't sleep with my back.
That's very interesting. And then one of my other teammates
I also
was
think this house is haunted sometimes, but that's besides the point.
I don't think it is. This house was built in the 70s.
I don't know, sometimes that room over there.
Which one?
My room. Someone be fucking with me sometimes.
Interesting.
That's crazy. She kept seeing the same person.
Yeah.
That's actually super creepy.
That's so scary.
Because usually with sleep paralysis, people see like different things. Like people see like monsters, but different monsters. Not the same freaking person.
Right.
Getting closer and closer
and closer.
She should write like a essay on it. Perfect. Stephen King novel.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
That's perfect spooky Halloween story.
Right. What a great segment into what we're doing today. Do you have anything to share?
No. I haven't finished. I have one more episode left of Chain Link. I just remembered that it came out yesterday. I can't wait to finish it.
What is that?
That movie I was telling the show I was telling you about with the Keith.
Oh, the girl who
broke the goddamn ribbon.
Bracelet. Okay.
And they stole her baby. That's not a baby. She was walking somewhere and this old crazy man, like homeless man, was screaming, "That's not a baby! That's not a..." Oh no, he said, "It's not a baby! It's not a baby!" It was supposed to be like, serious, but I was joking. And I was like, damn, he's right. It's not a baby.
He's on it.
He's on it. How often do they be right? Most people who be yelling at you.
I feel like in movies like this, in stories like this, they're always correct. The crazy, homeless, nomad people are always correct.
It's not a baby.
It's not a baby.
She's like, I freaking know. She was having a hard time. She was having a hard day that day too.
So she gave birth to like a demon or something?
No. So it's like she gave birth. Well, I don't know. So usually a changeling is like a folk story, but it's like you give birth to a baby and then a fairy steals your baby and they replace it with like a demon something. Not a demon or like another fairy. Usually the reason is because they want human love.
It's not a baby. Who wants human love?
The fairy or the little thing,
the
the replacement baby. They're doing out of revenge. I forgot what the third one was, but something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I wish her the best. So maybe I'll probably watch that after this.
I wish her the best. Truly.
It's really good. I love stuff like that. Random. I don't know if I'm keeping this in, but you know Jade, while we're on the talk of stuff, she has her own
elixir, potions.
She does card readings
and
stuff like that. She has a really popular Instagram. It's got like 20,000 followers.
Really?
Yes, I'm gonna send it to you. After this, remind me. Because we had that team reunion. She was there and she was like, that's what she does for a living. That's her job. She does readings. And I was like, Jada, I've been waiting for this. So I did like a reading with her. You should do one. She has a loved one. I was like, that'd be perfect for Jade.
Wait, was it good?
Yeah, it was great. Loved it.
You?
She told me a lot. It was an hour. So I had a lot of stuff.
Did you pay her?
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
At during the reunion?
No. I contacted her like the following Monday. We did like a meeting, like a FaceTime.
How long was it?
An hour.
How much did it cost?
$125. But she has a loved one that's cheaper. I did the most expensive one.
What's that tier? Was it like a life one?
It was like I guess it was like everything. Just like whatever. Like, you got an hour of my time, whatever you want to ask.
Shit, I might do that one. Fuck.
It was awesome. She told me a lot.
Can you say?
Yeah.
Or does that break
first
the
thing
rules?
She told me, she was like, you have some like spiritual gifts for yourself. I was like, girl, don't start with me because I think
don't start
me because sometimes I be thinking that, but I'm like, Jordan, you're just a narcissist. Calm it down.
You're just a narcissist.
Calm it down.
Well, maybe you should tap into it.
You know, I have tarot cards at my apartment that I use every now and then.
Oh, you do?
But yeah.
Okay.
She was saying that I was asking about the podcast. She was like, it's gonna grow in 2 to 3 years. And she's like, I see you guys on stage. I see y'all traveling. She's like, I see y'all doing newer movies. Then we got on live. She was like, I asked her like my 5 year, like, what do you see me in the next 5 years? She's like, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be financially stable.
Finally.
right. Not that laugh. Not you joke the fuck out. Whoa. Not you joke the fuck out. She's like, you're gonna be happy. She's like, I see you I see you as an entrepreneur.
I'm loving those.
Yeah, she was like, you're gonna. What was she saying? It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. It was great.
And then I was asking her about. She said,
did you write this down?
We didn't record it, but after I wrote it down, what we talked about. She's like, I see you in like vintage designer. She was like, I don't know why, but she was like, in your future, he's gonna wear a lot of vintage designer. I don't know why she said that.
For you.
Yeah, and she was like,
you love the Goodwill. So.
Yeah, she's like, I see a lot of vintage designer. I was like, I've never tapped into the designer.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool.
I mean, designer.
Yeah.
But you wear a lot of vintage crap.
Right.
From the GW.
I was like, that's the next step up. She was like, I see you having your own clothing store, boutique, or online. She's like, I see you going places to find stuff for your store. And I was like, okay, girl. What else I asked her? Oh, and she told me in like starting December to August, it's gonna be like, that's my changes coming. Like, she was like,
oh, okay,
you're gonna be like, you're just gonna be. I don't know, like, not necessarily like it's everything's happening to me between those, but like, you're gonna be like at peace. Like, I don't know. She's like, you're gonna have a new job. You're gonna like it. I was like, like it? I was like, all right, girl.
New job and actually enjoy it?
I was like, okay, we're gonna see what it is. But she was like, you're gonna be at peace coming December to August, around that time. She was like, it makes sense. It's like right before your 30th birthday. I was like, it is before my 30th birthday. And it was so funny. The first thing she told me when we got on the phone is she was like, you're very irritated. You're a very irritated person. Yeah. Like, you're always irritated. I was like, oh my God, Jada, this is going so well. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, these are the facts. I mean, she's known you for like 20 years. She should know that.
I don't know, but she didn't see me so long.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, but she was like, you're very. She like pulled the card. She was like, you're a very irritated person. I was like, yeah, I think everyone's so stupid. But yeah, she said a lot. She said absolutely a lot of different things.
Oh my God, wait, I can't wait to do one.
Yeah, it was so fun.
I must do it.
Yes.
That sounds really good. Did she ever say bad stuff? That's my only thing. Like, I feel like
she said that like some ladies have reviewed her in the past. She was like, she was so mean. She was like, I wasn't being mean. It was just like it was just all negative things. Yeah. Like yeah. She said, I think the only everything was super positive. I was like, she's like, I see you traveling, but you're gonna wait until like after you make money. She was like, oh, why are you doing that? I don't know. It's just like she was like, I see some stuff, but like it's gonna take some time. Or like the podcast thing. She was like, yeah, instead of being like it's happening tomorrow, she's like, I could see in like 2 to 3 years. You know, it's like you want it now. So it's not like everything was like
doing this long.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then she told me that she sees me in a public light, and I was like, oh girl. what you talking about? Like in the community or something. I was like, okay.
Come
It's
on,
like
in the
interesting.
community.
Right.
Come on, voice for the people.
Exactly. But it was very exciting. I'm not her.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's what she does full
Or
time.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my God, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
She ain't got to work for nobody.
Mhm.
Just reading cards.
Yes.
Oh, that's so. Yeah, definitely send me the page.
Yeah. I'll send it right now before I forget.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
She has a loved one. I was like, oh, Jade needs that.
I don't know.
Need to get it.
So did she tell you about love in yours?
She mentioned relationships. She was like, I see that it's not like that big of a. She was like, I see like you found your person, but it's not that big of a deal for you. And I was like, yeah. She was like, I was more career focused than like
Right.
relationships or like.
I don't want to care.
Yeah.
I don't care about that right now.
Yeah, she was like, I guess.
have a boyfriend already.
Yeah, and the way it's like it's not coming out, like it's not like something that's clearly on your
Right.
mind. She was like, I see that, and I was like, you got that, girl, because I'm just trying to trying to make me find some job that makes me happy. That is my main goal.
Okay.
But yeah, another spooky Halloween thing. I guess I'll take her name out in case she doesn't want that type of.
Ain't nobody listening to us.
You don't know.
She already told you they ain't coming for another 2 to 3 years.
We gotta start somewhere.
Anywho, so okay.
Well, tell her what the move is about.
It's spooky season,
very
ladies
spooky,
and
honey.
gentlemen. Think adolescence.
Yes.
Think there has to be a logical explanation for everything that we do and see.
I was wondering if I was the one who caught this girl say logic.
Like literally
Every
5
word,
seconds.
yes.
When you come up with like the title, it literally has to be like there has to be a logical explanation. So think logic. Think spooky. Think unexplained phenomenons. Think middle America. Think small town. Think boogeyman. Think boogie persons.
Biggie Pass.
Think white girl, black boy. Think beds. Think bedtime. Think nightmares. Think moving heads and inanimate objects that shouldn't move but are moving.
Think, why is this a Disney movie?
Think, why is this a Disney Channel original movie? Because it is in fact petrifying.
Terrifying.
And that brings us to, drumroll please. Don't look under the bed.
Oh, trust me, I will not. I will not be doing
Never
such a thing.
again.
Never again.
Never again.
I sure won't. What a terrifying movie. Tell me about it.
Summary. Frances Bacon McCausland, an intelligent and level-headed girl, is starting high school a year early. When strange things begin going on in her town of Middleburg, all signs point to her as the culprit. While trying to get to the root of the strange phenomenons, she meets Larry Houdini, who is only visible to her in young children. Larry Houdini, played by Eric Ty Hughes II, offers to help Frances and tries to convince her that the cause of all her problems is in fact the boogeyman. With much hesitation, she is forced to change her mind about the paranormal and what is really logic in order to prove her innocence and save her little brother.
Okay.
I came up with that one.
Ooh.
That was a good one, huh?
Genius.
Yep.
Google what? Wikipedia who?
Thank you. Fun facts. The film is made for TV, fantasy, horror film. Horror is in fact correct.
Yes.
It was released on October 9th, 1998. So
That's
we
how
just
you
had
release.
its anniversary.
That's how you release a Halloween movie, not
Exactly.
not whatchamacallit.
You want to know why it was so popular? Because it was released during
Halloween.
Halloween.
Not
July like Hocus Pocus.
Oh, I was thinking, what's that new one that just came out?
Freaking Haunted Mansion. Why are you releasing that in the summer?
During peak Oppenheimer Barbie.
Like literally during peak blockbuster film time. The summer is for the big movies.
Yes.
The Marvels, the Barbies, the Oppenheimers. Why would you try to compete with them?
It released it
You're
October
making
1st.
a Halloween movie
It's so stupid.
called Haunted Mansion. Why are you not putting this out in October?
Did y'all want it to fail?
At least you could have did September 30th.
Yes. Mid-September.
Freaking July. Be for
Stupid.
real.
Be
And then y'all
for
mad
real.
it ain't make no money.
Yeah. Because I'm not going to... Because that's a movie I just want to see because I want to watch a Disney movie.
Exactly.
That's not going to... I'm not going to win or lose here. I'm just fun.
I'm still going to see it, though. On
see
Disney
it.
Plus.
Mhm.
But, anywho... So, the film was released on October 9th, 1999, and is a Disney Channel original movie.
Yes.
A DCOM, if you will. Filming!
What?
A DCOM.
Okay.
You never heard decom?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you've heard the term decom. You just don't pay attention.
Okay.
Decoms.
Maybe.
That's what Disney Channel original movies are called.
Okay.
A decom.
Oh, I did not know that.
If you watch where we watched it on. Oh, if you want to watch it, it's on. What the hell is it called?
It's called Disney Now
Live or Disney Now.
Yeah, which is
on
for
Disney
free.
Now, the top. It's like TV shows, decoms.
Oh, interesting.
The film was directed by Kenneth Johnson and written by Mark Edwards Edens. Filming took place in, I was gonna guess Canada, but it wasn't Canada.
Oh, can I guess?
In Utah.
Oh, kind of makes sense.
Close enough. But the mom, have you heard the mom? Listen to the mom talk.
No.
She's got to be from Canada because she has the thickest Canadian accent I've ever heard.
Oh, okay. I guess I've paid attention to it, but I didn't pay
Every time she
attention.
talks, I'm like, oh my God. Like, straight out of fucking Toronto or wherever.
I just realized how pretty she was. That's what I was watching last time I watched.
Yeah, she's cute.
Pretty.
The Boogeyman was originally scarier in early concept drawings.
No way that they can get scared in this.
According to the film's director, Kenneth Johnson, the character was really dark and had squeals sticking out, whatever squeals are. It was nightmarish. I said, why don't we take him more Victorian and let's have his dialogue be more limerick-like and make it a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
That's
right.
It's supposed to be lighter.
That's he was pulling teeth to get that.
That was the watered down version. I can only imagine. I can't even fathom what that thing could have looked like at the original, at the height of it. Because that's the watered down version. That's let's take it easy version. That's
what
crazy.
was it saying?
That's crazy.
What the hell?
To add more to it, when Johnson was making Don't Look Under the Bed, the thought of a rating never crossed his mind. After all, it was a TV movie. Right. But when the film was giving a PG rating, there was a kerfuffle about how frightening it was.
Any PG-13.
There was a number of meetings where we talked about the tone. Oh, I said PG-13?
You said PG. I said it needs to be PG-13.
Oh, okay, yeah. There was a number of meetings where we talked about the tone and what Disney wanted it to be. Scary, but not too scary, Johnson says. That's the bar we kept trying to find. Everybody thought we had hit it until they started getting derogatory mail after it aired. They started getting hate mail.
You ruined my child's life.
How dare you air this horrific, gory film?
What were y'all thinking?
I just can't.
What were they thinking?
I can't wrap my head around that this is supposed to be a film for children 5 to like 13. A 5-year-old supposed to be able to watch this film?
No.
And they wanted it to make it worse.
I thank you guys for making this, for pushing through, but what were you thinking? The scary, when you think scary level, that's hocus pocus. That's what we need.
That's because Winifred is scary.
Yes, right. That's the level. That you can't go more than that.
Like, seriously.
This was terrifying.
Crazy. Eric Ty Hodges II, a black actor, portraying Larry, who was not written as a black character in the script. Oh. According to Johnson, Disney was concerned about having a black boy kiss a white girl.
I knew it. I think this is the first time they do it.
It is. At the film's ending, stating, they asked me to do it a couple of different ways, including not really at all. I don't even.
It's like lick her nose.
I fought for it, however. Yeah. Disney ultimately allowed the kissing scene to stay in the film, and Johnson said the scene is exactly the way I had always intended it to be.
That's wild. When did this movie come out? What year this movie came out?
1999.
And in 1999, they were concerned about that.
It's Disney. I can see it.
They were like, the nigga.
Like, ooh, I don't know.
I don't know if we're that progressive yet.
That is actually really sad.
Yeah, if they would have said maybe 1989, 1990, but almost the 2000s?
The new millennium, for crying out loud.
Jesus, they're like,
horrible.
IDK.
Shameful.
That tiny little kiss.
That tiny little peck that they share.
It was random as hell. But
okay. Then, in the final... Excuse me. That's incorrect. In the film's original script, the ending involved Francis and Larry using the tetrafuse machine to get rid of the Boogeyman. But Johnson stated that the ending was changed so Francis would defeat the Boogeyman herself. Johnson says, referencing the lessons of Dumbo, the hero cannot be using something outside of herself. The heroism has to come from within. And that's why Frances ultimately defeats the boogeyman by admitting she's not scared anymore.
Go ahead. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dumbo.
Don't know that reference to Dumbo whatsoever.
I haven't seen long. I'm not sure what
Dumbo since I was.
Can't remember what he's.
A wee little girl.
Can't remember what Dumble's solving.
I know, right? Like, there's
abuse, animal abuse.
Yeah, I just thought he just had strange ears.
They abused
and it was about him getting accepted
a clown
into society.
I feel like the circus did something bad to him, but I can't remember.
Who knows?
Who knows? We'll never know. There's no way of telling.
There's no way of knowing. Because who's gonna watch Dumbo? Not me. That's all I have.
Tight.
That's all I got for you.
You have actors' names.
Oh yeah, cast. Okay, so we have Aaron Chambers cast. We have Aaron Chambers as Francis Bacon McCausland, Eric Ty Hodges II as Larry I was about to say Larry Houdini, Darwin's imaginary friend.
Yes, Lord.
Robin Riker as Karen McCausland, Francis's mother. Steve Valentine as the boogeyman, the film's antagonist. Jack Saxon as Darwin McCausland, Francis' younger brother. Stephen Tobolsky as Michael McCausland, Francis's father. Nathan Stevens as Albert Burt McCausland, Francis's and Darwin's older brother. Mm-hmm. And Rachel Kimsey as Zoe, the old imaginary friend of Francis. And then Rudy. Wow. Mm-hmm. It's literally spelled like Rudy. Lipscomb as Joanne Smith, Francis's best friend. Lair former.
Hope they made up.
I know. I hope they get back together.
All right. Let's
dive in, shall we?
Ooh, I'm about to dive in.
I'm going to say the beginning of this in a spooky way. So if you're like, why are you saying like that? That's fine.
You do that.
Here we go. The movie. The movie.
Why are you doing this?
No, I'm just going to do the first sentence. Let it happen. Okay. The movie begins with an eerie vibe as we see the small town of Middleburg. Frances 14 narrates that something spooky and weird is going on in town as she is tossing and turning in her sleep. Whatever entity is haunting the town ascends upon Frances's home. Okay, I'll stop.
Then she has Satan's spooky tone in parentheses. Yes. Oh my God.
So I remind myself. Creativity.
So
the entity.
We're in the middle of Middleburg. Town in the middle of America.
Boring as hell.
Francis. Very, suburbia. So everyone's, at home. They're sleeping. It's the middle of the night. Whatever phenomenon, entity, whatever, appears to have changed the clocks on not only the Francis's McCausland's home, but also the entire town.
Yes.
So he sets the clocks, forward or early. So instead of the alarms going off at 7 a.m., they go off at 4 a.m. So Frances and the rest of her family, they're woken up at 4 a.m. thinking it's 7 a.m., but they're confused. They're perplexed. They're like, why is it so dark outside?
I'm tired.
They're just lollygagging along. Then everyone's trying to figure out what's going on, but they really don't have any way to make sense of it. The mom's trying to make breakfast for the kids. She goes into the refrigerator. She has 24 eggs that's supposed to be in the refrigerator and realizes that they're not in there. Then the dad eventually comes down and says that it is in fact 4 a.m. and not 7 a.m.
Why are all the clocks?
And they're confused as to why the clocks are wrong.
I don't know.
And then Francis's first statement is, there has to be some sort of logical explanation for it.
Shut up.
This woman is like the queen of logic.
Yes.
We will soon realize as we're listening or watching this film.
So back to sleep they go, and then we see the creature or the entity
behind all of this.
Yes. We see his long toenails sticking out of his shoes or its shoes, and we see it on top of a roof, and it's trying to
get the dog.
Yeah, it's trying to get a dog. It's dangling.
It's trying to lure in a dog.
Yeah, with some dog treats sticking on top of the roof.
Mm-hmm. So the morning has arrived. We learn that Frances has skipped a grade and she's off to high school with 14, her older brother Bert. And then she has her little brother Darwin, who I think is so adorable.
You think?
I think he's so freaking cute.
He's alright.
I thought he was so freaking cute. Anywho.
So Frances meets up with her best friend Joanne or Joe, and it seems like she's trying to hide the fact that she has a crush on Frances' brother Bert, which will come into play later.
But they're talking about how all of their
alarms went off at the same time, and even their neighbors' alarms, and what's going on. That's so weird.
And they're trying to make sense of it, and Frances is just like, there must be a logical explanation for all of it. Aggravating self.
And then as they continue to walk, they see on top of all their neighbors' houses that there's a dog on the roof.
Seeing dogs on the roof on every single house as I walk down, that's some type of shit that's gonna make me think the world about to end. I'm like, I'd be like, it's Armageddon. Why are all these dogs on the roof? Some shit like that would really have me thinking the world's about to end.
Some white boy and his
Nope, that would have not been my thought process at all.
The world's gonna end.
I'm like, we are doomed.
Now, to me, if all the dogs disappeared and we couldn't find any dogs in the whole universe, where'd they go? Because they're taking cover somewhere.
That's fair.
That would make me think.
But also the dogs all being on the roof. But also, I'd be like, what's going on?
Which is also funny because earlier at 4 a.m., Frances did make a joke to her brother about, like, if he got a dog, he went off to college, he had to keep the dog on the roof.
She did make that joke.
So it's also funny that all these dogs are on the roof.
Yeah.
Weird.
So as they continue to walk,
they arrive at school.
And Frances says hi to her biology teacher. What's his name? I don't really remember.
I don't know.
But she brags to Joanne about how he really likes her, and she's like Little Miss Teacher's pet. And then as they're continuing to walk, they're walking, and Frances spots a gentleman off in the distance.
Young, handsome black man.
Sitting on a rock, and he's got glasses on, and he's staring at them. She turns to Joanne, and she says, Joanne, oh my God, why is that boy staring at us? And then Joanne...
I couldn't tell if she liked it because she was like, "Oh, he's cute. Why is he staring around?"
She definitely was.
Or she was like, "Why is this man staring at me?"
If you notice it, every single time she brings up the fact that he's staring at her, she's like giddy about it.
Okay.
Like when she brings it up when she's in like the conference room with like the teachers, and she was like, "This boy, he keeps following me."
Like it's like that.
And then in the cafeteria, she's like, why do you keep following me? Like, she's into it.
Which is, I guess it's like, in my head, I've totally written her off as someone who is like someone because she's
by the
just so
third
serious.
time I watched it, I noticed it. I was like, oh, she's into the fact that he's watching her. So she turns to Joanne, and she's like, Joanne, why is he following us? And then Joanne's like, what guy are you talking about? And then Frances turns on, she's like, that guy. And there's no gentleman to be found. He has disappeared. He's gone into the abyss. So
Joanne heads off to her, I don't know, middle school. And Frances.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I was like, why are they walking to school together? They go to two different schools.
Maybe they're like right next to each other. Like, sometimes the high school and the elementary school and the middle school is like, boop, boop, boop.
I just want to point out that scenic view is impeccable.
Gorgeous.
I just can't believe, side note, I thought about this when I was in Los Angeles as well. I cannot fathom the idea of like being in a high school and like looking behind you, turning around, looking up, and they got mountains surrounding you.
Right.
When I was in California for work, and all the schools that we went to, there was literally like mountains everywhere. Right. I was like, these kids are like surrounded by like beauty, and they don't even care. Like they have these gorgeous mountains around them, and this is just like a normal. Right. I was like, this is crazy.
So crazy.
And I was like, they don't even care.
They have no idea what
they have here. But anyway, I was just like, oh my God, look at all those gorgeous mountains
I just see.
as they're filming this movie.
I just see flat.
Right.
We're just happy for some sun.
We don't even get flat land. We get under the water land.
That's true. Welcome to New Orleans.
Crazy.
So at this point, Frances heads into school. Unbeknownst to her, I think she has a really good sense of someone's is watching her. Mm-hmm. She can't see him, but Larry, we'll soon to find out, is hanging on like a balcony on top of the school watching
not
over her.
Just Larry's watching her. The Boogeyman is also watching her. So she has four eyes on her. Oh, the entity. I'm sorry.
We can spoil it, but the Boogeyman, yeah. So she goes inside. She goes to her biology class. She's being a frickin' nerd and asking all the students, was your alarm messed up?
Clock set back 3 hours as well. La 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 la. And then so the biology teacher that she was just raving about, who she is, the teacher's pet too.
I did not like the way he looked at her when he was like, "Do you have a question?" I was like, "Is this a different movie than it was going to be?"
What you mean?
I was like, "Does he like her?" He's like, Frances, do you have? I did not like the way he came up to her.
I didn't notice, but what I didn't like is how quickly he turned on her.
very
like
quickly.
so quickly. I was
was like,
she's
do you
supposed to
hate
be your
her?
favorite student,
Right.
and now you like hate her.
And then also like, why she's not that stupid to get caught like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
I didn't like that either.
But anywho, so
He was on top of her ass the moment she brought up the clocks.
right.
He was like, "Oh, it's you."
Yeah,
Maybe he went through some high school trauma.
Yeah, he's
like
a weirdo.
bullying, but I don't know.
But so he asked her,
What you talking
Francis,
about?
do you have a question? And she was like, well, actually, teacher, insert name here. I actually do. Was your alarm clock set 3 hours earlier?
Forward, backwards. Who knows?
Or did your alarm clock go off 3 hours or 4 hours earlier than what it was supposed to? And then, of course, he says, well, yes, it did. And then she, being the smart ass that she is, and she was like, okay, great. Because, I'm taking a survey, and everyone in the town seems to have had the same effect. But there must be some sort of logical explanation to it. And I'm just trying to make sure that we can find the correct statistical opinion on what this is and how it can be deduced. And he's like, okay.
But he also takes the paper that she's writing all this down, and he's like,
And then, now he's like raising an eyebrow at her. Like she might have done it.
right.
Which don't make no sense.
Don't make
But as that's happening, she feels this like energy behind her, and she looks to the left, and she's in a science lab, right? Like a skeleton or a skull. It's a bird, I think. There's like a crow.
Yes.
There.
No, a skeleton. Is there a bird? I don't know.
No. So the first thing, it's like a what's it called when it's like fake or stuffed? Cremated, maybe.
No.
Like a cremation of a crow.
Cremation is
But it's like a fake crow. It's like a crow.
It's like a stuffed crow.
A stuffed crow. And the crow turns its head at her. And then she turns around to look at the crow. And then the crow stops moving. Then she turns to the right. And then she sees a skeleton. And then Larry Houdini. Oh, excuse me. She turns around and looks at a skeleton. And then it's the same boy who she saw earlier
In her class.
in the class hiding behind the skeleton. And so now, at this point, her jaw drops.
Look at that.
Meanwhile, the teacher's looking at her the whole time.
What you looking at?
And he's like, what the fuck are you looking at?
He's like, you know what? You're weird.
You're weird.
And then
Insane.
kind of before that, or like around this part, before Larry goes into the classroom to stalk her some more, he notices that something up on the roof is dropping eggs onto this nice blue convertible car that so happens to be the biology teacher's car.
And remember, her mom,
Was missing eggs.
when they woke up, was looking for the eggs.
2 dozen eggs.
2 dozen eggs, and she couldn't find them.
Yes.
And now, this entity is dropping eggs on top of her favorite biology teacher's convertible, like old school Thunderbird blue car.
Top is down.
Top down and everything.
So Larry goes upstairs or to the roof to investigate. He finds no one, but all he sees is like, I don't know, like hundreds of empty cartons of eggs. Like the beast or whatever, the entity dropped buku eggs. Do you know how much eggs cost now, sir?
They're crazy.
Back then.
Crazy expensive.
But what a day. What a day at school. So after school day's over, teacher goes outside. He sees that his car has been egged to the point of just why.
Yeah, it's like he has to get an entirely new interior.
Yes. Like, how long has it been sitting out there? Because, eggs, like, ruin the paint in your car, I think.
Oh, do they really?
I think so. I think they, like...
Oh, no.
I think they do. And this happened early in the morning.
Yeah, like the start.
Yes,
7 a.m.
7
And now
a.m.
we're dismissed.
Why nobody ain't seen that? Like, no
Someone
teachers?
saw.
You're right. No one was like, hey, who car outside got egged?
No one likes it.
And the top is down.
Top is down.
So he walks outside. He's like, what the hell? Frances is also out there. And she's looking at the car situation like, what the hell?
In confusion. And for whatever reason, he turns around, sees her, and asks her, Frances, did you have anything to do with this?
No.
Why are you pulling me into it? Why it gotta be me? Why? For what reason do you think I would really
We
be
were
the person
just
to do
cool when I saw you at 7 a.m. this morning. What happened?
this? We was just cool. And now this bitch want to act like an op bitch.
Right. Like, I'm standing here looking at your car shocked like everybody else.
Right.
I'm not jerking off right here looking at you, look at your car.
Right. Like, I'm not diddling
like,
my skittle. Come
right.
on, relax.
Diddling my skittle. I'm also concerned and confused.
So, Joanne and Frances head home. They're talking about everything that happened, and they're still trying to find a logical reason for everything weird that has been going on.
Because Francis's nerd logical thing is starting to run off on Joanne.
Right. Well, Joanne's like, well, maybe there was some sort of like solar eclipse
that girl said,
that
maybe,
set the times back.
She said maybe there was an airplane that came by and put all the dogs on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Francis is like, okay, you're an idiot.
She's like, whatever,
What?
Joanne. No. And then so while they're having this conversation, Francis's older brother, Bert, rides by on his bicycle. And Joanne is all giddy inside. And Francis asks, like, hey, do you have, like, a crush on Bert? And Joanne reluctantly reveals that she does. And she goes on and on about him. And she brings up the fact that he saved their little brother's life because he gave up his bone marrow to save their little brother Darwin. Bravery. And Joanne is just like, I think it's so cool to have saved someone's life. And then Francis is like, it was the doctors who saved Darwin's life.
She said all he did was lay there.
All he did was lie there.
Dang, girl.
And then Joanne was like, well, I heard it's really scary when they stick the needles inside of you like that.
I think it's pretty painful.
And then Francis is just like, you know what, Joanne, whatever. She hating from outside the club.
Right, she definitely is. I remember in one of Will Smith's movies where he like donates all his like organs or something to somebody. I think
7 pounds or something.
He does bone marrow transfer. I think a bone marrow transfer. I think it's pretty sure what it was. And they put like this big needle in like her spine.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly, that's what it was. I was like, and I'm pretty sure it was very painful for him.
He wasn't asleep?
I don't think you can be or something. I don't know. I don't think he was asleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or maybe you can't be. I don't know. But in that movie, he wasn't asleep.
I love it how they just automatically assume that children know how bone marrow transplants happen. I'm like, why is this in here? Like,
right, very specific.
We don't know what it is.
Why y'all giving this as trauma? The little brother has leukemia, by the way. Why y'all giving
he does?
Yeah, he had that's why he needed the transfer. He had cancer.
And that's another thing. They just say he was sick.
Oh, I think they say at one point.
I don't remember hearing leukemia, but I do remember me thinking, why they think we understand how bone marrow works?
Leukemia. Thanks for introducing the cancer.
Right.
The
harsh.
Bit much.
I'm surprised they didn't kill him. You know they love to kill somebody.
Ooh, girl, that's very that was their killing
the closest they could get.
Right. Either killing the brother. They were like, we need him for the imaginary finesse.
Yeah, they're like, we need him for the story, so we'll have to kill him.
Right. But when the movie goes off, they were like, he died of cancer. A year later.
Just so you know, the ending credits. Darwin later died 2 years later from leukemia. Yeah. We must kill someone in every Disney film.
So once again, Francis not impressed. But Joanne says, deuces, I'm out. And then Francis once again sees this beautiful black man.
Before she agrees, she makes Francis agree not to tell anyone about her crush on Bert.
Crush your finger hopes to die.
Then Francis says, grow up, Joanne.
She's so annoying.
She's such a bitch.
She said, grow up. You think I'm going to tell my brother about our crush? We're grown adults.
Right. Relax.
It's not that serious. People are dying of leukemia. Oh, so Frances has said goodbye to Joanne. And once again, she sees a handsome, young, black man following her. And she goes, why are you following me? He goes, you can see me? Mm-hmm. She goes, yeah, I can see you. And he looks shocked, and a bus passes by, and he disappears.
Instantly.
What the hell's going on?
And then Frances is left there looking confused.
Dumbfounded. Then we get another narration for Frances about all the other weird things that are happening around the town. So apparently someone put gelatin in the swimming pool, so now it's like Jell-O. Someone put bees in the principal's office. Someone put gallons of water in the school bus, and someone has sprayed the letter B all over town. It's on houses, it's on shoes, it's on bags, it's on lockers. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, baby. Then that night, we see the entity in question up to something else, and they appear, and we still have yet to see the entity's like full body. We only see glimpses of like their hand, their creepy feet, and different things like that. So now we see the entity, and they have some, I guess, gardening materials and some flowers, and we just see them digging up a front lawn, and that's all we really get. But then that morning, Frances once again gets like the feeling that she's being watched, but doesn't really catch the things that are watching her. And every moment or every movement, we see like a statue or like a dog or something just like turn their freaking head and watch her.
What? That is so terrifying. Who was like this? That
You know
alone.
what we didn't bring up? You know what we didn't mention?
What?
Did that happen yet? When she gets to school and everyone's frozen?
I think it happens when right before they tell her about, they see the bees on the lockers, because she hasn't gone to school yet.
Right before she,
That was weird.
That was crazy.
I still don't understand what that had to do with
literally, I still don't understand what that had, and the fact that the things are watching her, like the statues and the dolls turning their head. I'm like, why is that?
I always say that maybe the boogeyman or the entity is possessing these dolls and constantly following her, and I think that is a stretch and also super creepy.
Yeah.
But how it got them people to froze, I don't know. I was watching that today, and I was like, I still don't understand what this means.
That part is like
Creepy.
Creepy.
But yes, once again, in that morning, she's giving like another feeling. She's got really good feelings that someone's like watching over her. But in the kitchen, her family is discussing like all the different pranks that are getting pulled around school and like who's doing this. Their dad once again realized something's gone missing. It's the gelatin, because he had a whole bunch of gelatin because he was gonna make this like gelatin dish. And then Frances comments against, well, there must be a reasonable explanation for this, for all the weird things going on. At this point, the whole family's like, girl, is it not you? They like look at her and it's like, I'm pretty sure it's you.
Right.
Mind you, I guess maybe they think she's going, well, she skipped a grade. She's 14 going on 40. She's a middle child. Maybe she wants some attention. Her brother gets to be the oldest and Darwin gets to have cancer. What does she have? Maybe she's doing that. That's why she's doing all these pranks. That's what I'm assuming what's going through their head.
Right. So then Frances heads outside, right? To begin her daily walk with her BFF Joanne. But then Joanne comes up behind her and she's like, how could you? Joe loves Bert. And then the camera pans to a floral flower arrangement in Frances's front yard that says Joe loves Bert.
To me, that was the most pettiest thing that the entity, the boogie person
Could have
did.
done.
That's just petty. That was specifically to me, because everything else has been like affect everyone. They were just like, no, this for you.
Right. Exactly. And then Frances is like, it wasn't me. And she was like, Joanne's like, get real, Frances. Of course it was you.
That's facts.
Who else could it be?
Who else could it have been?
Like, literally, who else could it be?
That's obviously you.
Like,
That's a hard one to come over.
They was wrong for that one.
I don't know how she gonna fix that one.
Yeah.
Because if it was me, if I saw it first, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fix. I don't know who did this, but ain't nobody gonna see it.
Right. Literally.
So then Frances heads to school, and when she arrives, she finds that everyone is like standing still. Everyone's like in like freeze frame motion. Is it a challenge that she missed that no one was a part of? Is it a prank? Am I going crazy? I don't know.
Like, they're literally frozen, like the mannequin challenge.
Yes.
Like freeze frame. No one's moving but her.
We don't know what's going on.
Time has stopped moving.
I'm confused.
I wouldn't, son, you know how fucked up in the head that would have made me? I'd have been like, what's going on?
Is the boogeyman,
what is happening?
Is he able to get into their heads?
I'd have been like, am I going crazy? Am I going mad?
What's going on?
That
one's creepy.
I'd have been like, this is the end of the world.
What is this? What is this one?
This the end. This is D-Day.
Yes. And then when the bell rings, everyone moves.
Crazy.
Okay.
Everyone's back to normal.
So Frances goes into the school and she sees that on all of the lockers, every single one of them, is the letter B. She goes to her locker, which is the only one that doesn't have a B on the outside. She's confronted by 3 actual seniors, and they're like, well, obviously you're the one behind all this. She's like, come on, guys. There's got to be a logical
explanation. Grow up, people,
why,
she says.
Right. Why there's no B on my locker. Like, they must have just skipped it. Doesn't mean just because mine doesn't have a B on it that...
Doesn't mean I did
exactly.
And then she opens her locker, and then we find a B on the inside of her locker. Which makes it look 10 times worse.
And also, if I was Frances, she's not losing enough sleep for me. She kind of sleeps good at night until like the boogeyman comes out and messes with her, but she's sleeping too well at night for me, because once I saw the letter B on the inside of my locker and everyone's B's on the outside, obviously they're attacking me. So Frances denies his allegations. It wasn't me. So at lunch, Frances is trying to go about her day. There's a guy who comes up to her and he's like, is it you that's behind the whole egging thing and the bees? And she's like, no. And he was like, well, there's a rumor going around that it's all like you're the one behind it. He was like, I think it's pretty cool, but. And she's like, oh, hell no, it's not me. He's like, who could it be? And then she sees.
I loved how the guy, first of all, whoever this guy is, I thought he was hilarious. He came up asking 1,001 questions. And then he just seemed so fascinated and enamored with everything that she did. He was like, well, I think it's really cool. And she was like, it's not cool, it's vandalism. He's like, well, what does the bee mean? The bee, I didn't do any of it. And he's like, well, who did it? I would have been like, shut the hell up.
Back away.
He had 1,000 questions.
Having a hard day.
And then so he's asking her 1,000,001 questions. And he's like, well, if you didn't do it, well, who did it? And then she's like, you know what? I'm about to find out.
Great question.
And as she says that, she sees the same guy that she's been seeing throughout the film.
This beautiful black man.
This beautiful black chocolate man. She sees the same guy. And she goes and confronts him.
This time he's in a black suit. It's giving Men in Black. He's standing or sitting or like hanging on top of a table. He waves at her and she goes over there and is like, why are you following me? What, like, I want answers. What's up? And he's like, look, I'm going to make my job title. What I do for a living is imaginary friend. My name is Larry Houdini. No one else can see me. He proves it by like messing with the other like classmates and like takes food off their tray and does backhand handsprings and no one can see him. All anyone can see is her talking to her freaking self. It's really not helping her case. And he's like, I'm an imaginary friend. And she was like, I don't have an imaginary friend. He's like, I never said I was your imaginary friend. He's saucy, honey.
And then she's like, so why are you here? Why are you following me? And he was like, the guy in my head has sent me here. And then she's like, the guy in your head?
I wasn't sure, but it must be to help you.
And I think that's the reason why you can see me.
Right. Makes sense.
Now, the wheels are turning. We're making sense. Right. We're making sense of all of it. It's not really logical sense in Francis's world, but it's sense nonetheless.
Yes. He's like, I must have been sent here to help you because the boogeyman is trying to frame you. This is the first word we hear about
usage
of the boogeyman.
Of the boogeyman.
He's like, he's trying to frame you, and obviously I'm here to help.
So
while it is nice that someone actually believes her, like, because everyone thinks she's the one behind all this.
Right.
It's nice that someone's like, I know it's not you, it's this other person, but then it's still crazy.
So, Frances is ultimately, being the logical thinker that she is, has had enough of this guy and his antics. She's had enough of Larry and his wish-wash behavior. And so she takes it upon herself to stand on the table in the cafeteria and to make a large announcement and ask everyone in the cafeteria, hey, does anybody know who this is? He says his name is Larry Houdini.
That's just crazy.
And then everyone's looking around.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the fuck is this chick talking about?
It's giving, I'm going to get on this plane, but I don't know who that is. What did she say?
She said,
then they're not real.
Whether you believe me or not, that motherfucker right there is not real.
Everyone looking, but I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. That motherfucker is not real.
That's literally what it's giving.
And then everyone, no one sees what she's talking about. Everyone busts out laughing. She's never gonna live this down. She's never gonna regain her
never.
What's we call it? Not your subconscious, your reputation. She's never gonna regain her reputation from this. I don't care what's going on, who proves to be. She's always gonna be known as the weird girl who skipped a grade. So as everyone's laughing at her, worse gets to worse, and she gets called to the principal's office. So in the principal's office, she's surrounded by the biology teacher who thinks she's weird and up to something, and the guidance counselor. So they're basically accusing her of being behind all the strange things in school. They've heard that, they've heard rumors that she's behind it. Apparently they think that a whole bunch of students are part of this and they're getting together and they're doing all these pranks, but that she's the mastermind, the 14-year-old girl who just got there yesterday. It's a bit of a stretch, I think. So Frances denies this, of course, and she tells them that she believes that there's a young boy, Larry Houdini, that happens to be behind everything, and he's the one y'all should find and ask about what's going on.
Larry pops up in the room, and he's like in a hockey uniform.
Yes. I love this guy's costume changes. He's got the most costume changes in any movie ever.
That I've ever seen. So he pops up in the room, and then Frances goes, well, there he is. He's right there. And of course, they don't see him. Only she sees him. So she makes a run for it, following
Stop
him.
that man.
And then they go after her, following her. So she's running after him. He's running. And then so he makes it his way into the band room. He's in the band room. They have a conversation. She's like, ha, I gotcha. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you messing with me? And he's like, hey, what do you mean?
Right. He tries to explain to her, the voice in my head sent me here. I'm just here to help you. What more do you want from me?
And then she's like, I'm not buying what you're selling. This isn't logical. La 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 la.
I know you're behind everything. And at this point, the principal and
the guidance counselor and her once favorite biology teacher, who is now turned on her. Son, he was like reading her to filth in that conference room.
He's like, clearly you did it.
He's like, I think you did every single one of these things.
What?
There's no doubt in my mind that you had the time to fill a pool with gelatin, egg my car, rewind every single human being's clocks back in this town. You did it all,
There's
Francis.
no way. There's just like no logical way that she could have done all that.
Right.
And not have been called. So at this point, the principal and everyone has walked in on Francis. Francis is like, this is the person. Everyone look around. You see him? She turns around. He's gone. They're like, we ain't never seen nobody. Let's call your mother.
Yeah.
So now we see Francis's mom. She's finally come to school. Should have been came to school. If you're going to accuse my daughter of all these things, call me. Thank you.
Call me, beat me.
So Francis's mom is there. The guidance counselor gives her theory of why she thinks Francis is acting out. And while they're having conversation, Francis is on the bench. She's relaxing. I mean, I'm sure at this point she thinks she's going absolutely crazy. While she's laying there, she's got a rag over her eyes so she can't see anything, and she can't see the smoke that's surrounding her.
So she's low key like trying to take a nap.
Yes. There's smoke everywhere. The room gets dark, purplish dark. And then we see that we now know is the boogeyman stick his long, gross, slimy, long nails, and he's trying to touch her, and he says,
Can Franny come out to play?
Before the boogeyman can touch Franny, she wakes up. So throughout this whole film, the boogeyman is saying Franny, Franny. Whenever the boogeyman says Franny, she wakes up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never noticed.
Yeah, every time he says Franny, she wakes up.
Well, he needs to stop saying Franny.
Yeah. I don't know if he wants, but I guess it's like almost whenever it's like in the background while he's doing something. This one was like, I think this is the closest it's ever been to her, because usually it's like doing something else. But she wakes up. She's like, oh! I'm sure she's having crazy. What was the boogeyman's end game here? Is it to drive her crazy? Like, do you want to see her in an insane asylum? Do you want her to apologize? Do you just want her to get in really, 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 really bad trouble? I don't know what the boogeyman was out to get with this. But she wakes up. Her mom is like, "You ready to go home, girl?" And then what is they meant? Then they mentioned something. Oh, I think the principal mentions the egging of the cars, because I don't think the mom knew about that. And the mom goes, eggs?
Because she remembers that she was missing 24 eggs. So now she's concerned.
Yes.
And then mom brings Francis home.
And once again, the mom's trying to talk to her, because the mom's really nice. She's like,
she is.
She's trying to be like reasonable, because it's like, obviously I think you're doing all of this, but I don't want to like make it worse. And she brings up the fact, it's like, maybe you grew up too soon. Maybe we shouldn't have seen you in high school. Do you want to talk about this? And then Francis is like, there's nothing to talk about. I'm fine. And she's like, are you sure? Are you sure you're fine? She's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Right.
Okay, sure, fine. So Francis goes up to her room. She's chilling in an attempt to make, a reasonable explanation for everything that's going on. She assumes that she's being hypnotized. Like, she's been hypnotized. Everything's in her mind. Maybe everyone else is getting hypnotized, and that's why they can't see Larry. There's got to be a logical explanation for what's going on. And that's it. It's the best one I can pull out of my ass. And then while she's talking, she notices under her bed that the shoes that she usually wears are covered in the same like flower petals that wrote Joe Hart's Brett outside. And she's like, Bert. She's like, what the hell's going on?
And then so while she's recognizing that her shoes are covered in like, flowers and different things like that, her little brother Darwin walks in.
Yeah, Darwin.
And he asks her,
"You sure the boogeyman isn't real?"
And then she's like, first of all, don't scare me like that. Second of all, no, he's not real. And he's like, well, I was at the park today, and the kids that I were hanging out with were saying that he was real. And then Frances, with her logic, goes, well, some adult should really take the responsibility in telling the children that the boogeyman is not real, and they shouldn't take the time out to scare children like that.
Right.
And then Darwin was like, well, the person who told the kids that the boogeyman was real was an adult. And Frances was like, well, that adult should be ashamed of themselves. And Darwin was like, they said his name was Larry. And Frances was like, Larry, huh? She's like, well, what did he look like? And Darwin was like, I don't know. He was playing basketball, but I couldn't see him. Only the other kids could.
She's trying to turn our brother to a nerd.
Just
like
see,
her.
That's important, guys. All the other kids could see Larry, but Darwin could not.
You sound like Dr. Seuss. But Darwin could not. So Frances, at this point, she's like, oh, okay, this must be the same guy that's been stalking me. So she goes to the playground, and she finds a Larry Houdini once again. This time he's wearing a karate suit, and he is playing the most intense game of basketball by himself. And he's just having a great time. He's my favorite person. He's my favorite character in this whole movie. He's got great energy. He's having a great time. So when Frances finds Larry at the basketball court, she asks him, well, she accuses him of hypnotizing everyone in like the city to not see him, and he's like, I don't know how to do that.
How does that work?
I don't understand these words. And then she's like, well, clearly you're up to. Oh no, he tells her like, grown-ups can't see me, only kids. That's just the thing. I'm a cool guy. Only kids can see me. Kind of.
He's like, I'm an imaginary friend. Adults don't have imaginary friends. Only kids do. That's why kids can see me. And then she's going on and on about, why are you doing this to me? Why are you following me? And he's like, look, I told you already. The guy in my head told me to come to you. How many times do I have to get you to understand? So then Larry convinces her to go to the library with her to prove to her that he is in fact, imaginary, and that she's the only one that could see him.
So Larry and Frances arrive to the bookstore. So, because Larry's there because the guy in his head like sent him a message, and he's like, I don't know what I'm looking for, but he comes upon the Boogie Book, which is a book written by the guy in his head, and it's dedicated to Larry. So obviously, it's for him, and it's got some stuff in there. Larry meets with the kids. He does backhand spring tucks and things like that.
There's kids in the library.
Yeah, kids see it. No one else sees it. At this point, they found the Boogie Book. No one else can see Larry. Only me. She's like, you know what? I need to check this book out because
something is afoot.
And we'll say why he was in the library. He was like really sensitive to the light. It was like really weird. Like,
yeah, it was really weird. He was like, oh, why is it so bright in here? And Frances is like, it's a library. People need to read.
Yeah, it's a regular light.
And so he puts on some sunglasses, and she's like, dude, it's not that bright in here.
Okay.
He's like, my eyes are sensitive.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry about it, but let's worry about it.
We're gonna stick a pin in that.
Yeah, stick a pin in that. So on their way home, Larry's looking at the Boogie Book, and he finds that there's a way to get rid of the boogeyman. At one point, Frances is like, where does the boogeyman even come from? And he's like, I'm from underneath your bed. It says right here. And he's like, it doesn't say whose bed, but I'm assuming since the boogeyman's messing with you, it's got to be your bed.
And then she's like, well, why is he underneath my bed? And he's like, well, I don't know. Have you ever done anything wrong to the boogeyman? And then she was like, yeah, sure. Like, I have wronged the boogeyman.
Is there something
100 times over? And then he's like, well, okay. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
If you want to confess anything, just let me know. I'll be right here.
Yeah, he's like, well, I guess it's just a coincidence.
And then Frances is like, okay, he can't live under my bed. I would know that. And he's like, well, have you ever checked? She's like, no, I have not.
And then he's like, well, maybe you should.
Maybe you should, bitch.
And then she's like, okay, well, then maybe I will. And then so she goes inside to go check, and then she turns to Larry, and she's like, well, are you coming? And he's disappeared.
It's gone.
Vanished. So then she makes her way inside the house, and she is met by her parents, who her father, I must point out, I really don't think her dad likes her.
I love his character in this movie.
You love his character.
He's funny.
He's funny.
I think he's funny.
I honestly think he utterly hates her.
I don't
think he loves her.
I think he
I don't think he likes her.
What? I think he
thinks that she's a nuisance. And even before she started causing this mayhem, I don't think he really had an opinion on his children.
I I don't know.
He
I don't
seems
know
like
about
a
that.
detached father who only cares about housework.
To me, maybe that's his way he relaxes. But to me, he's like the yin to the mom's yang. The mom is like, let's let flowers and rainbow and like let's
let
not
them
talk about
express their
that.
feelings.
Exactly. Don't push it. Don't push it. And the dad's like, what is going on? Tell me. Are you behind this? And she's like, the mom's like, don't yell. Don't push. He's like, what? Like, can we get to the bottom of this or not?
I don't know. I don't like how aggressive he is.
I
He
don't mind
doesn't
it.
seem likable at all. But so she's met at the doorstep to her parents. Her father is like, where have you been, young lady? And the mom's like, sweetheart, the yelling, stop.
Tipper?
And she's like, we've got to let her, tell us first. And then Francis is like, I was at the library. And he's like, you can't go anywhere without letting us know. And she's like, okay, I'm sorry. Won't happen again. And then she's like, can I go to my room now? And the dad's like, no. And then the mom's like, yes, you can. So she goes to her room. And then the dad is like, what are you doing? And he literally says that she belongs in a psych ward.
She might.
And I was like, oh my God, he hates her. And she was like, the mom was like, she just needs some time to like think. And he's like, she needs some time to be in a psych ward.
I think there are two extremes. I think there needed to be a middle because I think y'all needed to be worried because she's going around and said there's a guy named Larry Houdini that's following her and is doing all these tricks. It's a little concerning.
I mean, that's true.
But yeah, the dad being like she needs to be in a psych ward is a little like calm it down.
That was a bit much.
Maybe a therapist.
Dang, right. She was like, she belongs in a straight. I think he said straitjacket.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like, dang. That's
but then the mom
messed
is
up.
like, it's gonna come. It's just gonna figure itself out.
And then so after he read his daughter to filth, he tells the wife, the mother, that he is going to be inviting the high school counselor who Francis met with earlier in the film over for dinner because she has experience working with troubled youth, I guess.
Not bad.
And we need to figure out, what's going on with Francis.
Yeah. Okay. We need
so
a little
I'm
more
inviting this lady over and I'm making my pot roast.
That's not bad. Boy likes to cook, honey, huh? Make that pot roast. So Frances has made it up to him at this point. She like slowly, a little scarily, goes to look under her bed, and right before she like really gets a good look in there, Larry comes again. He's like, he's not under there right now. I don't know if it's daylight or
I think it's the sleeping aspect.
maybe so. He's like, he's not gonna be under there right now. And then while that's going on, Larry's doing more research into the boogie book, and he finds that he finds instructions to build a
temprifuge,
which can make the boogeyman harmless and old, and get rid of it. So that's what we're gonna do to solve this case.
Yeah, he's like, look, it has instructions on how to make it in everything. All we have to do is assemble a temprifuge, and that's how we defeat the boogeyman.
Easy peasy.
And then Francis is like, where do you get your clothes from?
Why
are your shoes on my bed?
Right now he's dressed like a genie.
Like, he literally, every outfit has been something crazy. And she's like, where are you getting these ensembles from? And then so while they're literally having conversations but not talking to each other, Darwin walks in again. And he says, have you lost your marbles? But he has marbles.
They have a lot of like.
I thought that was hilarious.
There's another like. We didn't talk about this scene, but there's another like scene like that. It was like the mom, because the mom was like the first one to think like she was being hypnotized. The dad was like, "How do you think that someone's hypnotizing all the kids in our town?" And then the older brother comes down. He puts on the TV, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are funny."
He turns on the TV. Yeah.
And I was like, they have these little thingies.
Yeah. So he comes in and he hands her marbles, and he's like, "Have you lost your marbles?" And then, so Darwin's in the room, Francis in the room, and Larry's in the room. Francis knows Larry's in the room. Darwin doesn't know that Larry's in the room because Darwin can't see Larry. So, Larry is like, Darwin, hey, buddy, how are you? Aww. And then Francis says something that it's a reply that can be answered towards Larry and Darwin, but what it is, I don't remember. And then, Francis says something to the effect of, do you see anyone else in this room? And then Darwin was like, well, you don't have to be so rude about it. And she's trying to see if like he can see Larry.
Right, because kids can see Larry, but for whatever reason, her brother can't.
And then he's like, look, here's your marbles. Like, I don't care. I'm getting out of here. I don't want your marbles.
I'm very mature. I'm
an adult. I don't want your marbles. I'm leaving here. And then Larry is like, Darwin, don't leave. Hey, buddy, you remember me? It's me, Larry. And of course, he can't hear him. So Larry's following behind Darwin. And he's like, Darwin, why don't you want to be my friend anymore? And he's like, Darwin, just make sure you put the covers over your head at night so the boogeyman can't get you, okay? I'm like, why are you still talking? He literally can't freaking hear you.
He's a good person. And
so then Larry comes back into Francis's room, and he's all upset and distraught and disheveled. And he's like, oh, why doesn't he want to be my friend anymore?
And then Francis is like, oh,
you're
Darwin's imaginary friend.
And then Larry's like, well, I didn't know he was your little brother.
Just, just travel. He should have recognized
I was
the
like,
house.
he should have known that.
He should have
I
recognized
was like, if you're hanging out with him, you would have seen his sister.
Maybe we weren't doing a good job.
Yeah. And he was like, well, I didn't plot. That's actually a plot hole.
But we'll allow it.
We'll allow it. But anywho. So he's like, well, I didn't know he was your little brother. And then he's like, I don't understand why he doesn't believe in me anymore. And she's like, well, look, I told him a long time ago that he needed to grow up and stop believing in make believe and things like that.
He needs to believe in real things like his doctors.
And Larry loses his shit.
You did it. You're the reason why he can't see me. You told Darwin to stop believing in me.
What's wrong with your eyes?
I must be allergic to something. I don't know.
Allergies don't make your eyes look like that.
You know what, Fran? You just know everything, don't you? That's why you told Darwin to stop believing in me. To show him you knew more than he did.
No, he needs to believe in his doctors, okay? Something real? That's how you stop being afraid. You grow up and face reality. I had to help him do that.
You wanted to help him? Then why didn't you give him some of your bone marrow, huh?
I wanted to help him, and the doctor said Bert was the only one who could do it.
I bet that was a relief.
No, I wanted to do it.
Safe!
Larry!
No, don't pretend with me, Fran. I know all about pretending.
And then while he's hooping and hollering at her, his eyes, his like corneas turn purple and his retinas turn green. And then, ooh, girl, they started getting deep. And then she starts getting emotional and she crying.
Very intense conversation.
He's like, I know fake when I see it.
Oh my, it was a very, and she's like tearfully.
And then she's like, Larry. And he's like, nah, I don't want to hear it.
I think the boogeyman is scary, but their arguments are so intense. I feel like as a child, I'm just like, wow, this is like really deep. It's like a different kind of scary. He's like yelling at her with pink eyes. He's like half monster. He's truthful, which is, whoa, not you like coming at me with
he's
facts.
He's that real, first of all.
Isn't that real?
And then he got demon eyes while he's doing it.
It's a little too much.
It's a little too much. And it is very intense, and he does go off on her like a lot.
A lot.
But it'd be like real brief. Like he'll check her real quick, and he'd be like, all right, I'm back to normal.
And then tomorrow they'd be like, hey girl, what's up?
Hey girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hey gorgeous.
Right, we're just like, we're not going to talk about when you like came for me yesterday. He's like, no.
We're going to leave that in the past.
I'm happy-go-lucky.
We're moving forward. So then after that, Larry like disappears.
Yes.
Francis walks after him, and he vanishes. So then that night, right? Mm-hmm. That night, Larry, it's nighttime. Darwin's asleep in his bed. Francis is asleep in her bed, and Larry goes to Darwin's room to like visit him.
What is he wearing?
He's wearing a cowboy
Fabulous.
costume. Another costume.
Fabulous.
He's dressed up as a cowboy.
No one can see him.
No one can see him.
Darwin can't see him.
So, meanwhile, Frances is in her bed. She's tossing and turning. She's having like a nightmare or something.
Once again.
While her bedroom, underneath her bed, we see smoke emerge.
Purple.
It's illuminating purple. It's getting a little rickety-rackety underneath there. And the boogeyman is now afoot.
Yes. It's the witching hour, hunty.
It's the witching hour. And then so Larry hears all this ruckus commotion going on, and he puts the covers over Darwin's head, and he goes to investigate. Before he heads out, though, we see a doll next to Darwin's bed. It's a black doll. And he's dressed up as a cowboy.
Yes. Okay, perfect. I did not know that because the doll that moves in Francis's room looks
is
like
freaking. Oh wow!
It looks like her imaginary
It
friend.
does.
So their dolls. Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't see it until like the third time.
I didn't notice
I
this.
did not notice that.
Oh, so his doll moves his head?
No, the doll doesn't move his head. He's just so Larry goes to put the covers over the Darwin, and then as it like pans out, there's just like a doll next to his bed, and the doll it doesn't move or anything, but it's like a black boy in a cowboy.
Okay, that's
costume.
and that's his image of
and
his
Larry
friend.
is literally in a cowboy
Yes,
costume.
and he's black. And then
And he's black.
I mean, more importantly, where they even find that, and the parents bought that, and
Right,
then
where do you find a black cowboy
yes,
doll?
Yes, and then France's imaginary friend is based off of this doll that looks just like her and is white and
Not to
Victorian.
spoil it or
I know,
anything.
but it's the same outfit, and it's the only doll that ever moves its head.
Oh, that
in her
is
room.
true. That's the only doll that moves her head. Oh, that's so.
Besides that
freaking-
bus downstairs, but that doll is the only one that moves its head in its room.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Why did they have that in the movie? Okay.
So, Larry goes off to investigate. He goes to Francis's room and he tells Francis. He wakes her up. He said, "Francis, the boogeyman is on the roof."
Dun dun dun.
That would like spook the shit out of me. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Go figure that out.
Like you, like
Good.
you go handle that.
I'll say a prayer.
You go handle that, Larry.
Right.
I'll sit back
Do you,
here.
do you believe in God? Because I'll handle that part. You go.
I'll sit back here while you take care of that.
Not I.
So Larry goes down to investigate, and Francis goes with him.
What is he wearing now?
A fireman's uniform. Now he's in a fireman uniform.
Switch.
So,
Now, this one actually makes sense because he's getting on a roof.
yeah, because he's getting on the roof. He's got a ladder.
Yeah.
He's got a ladder going. So they go down to investigate, and of course she's like, "There's no boogeyman
I don't
on
see
the
none.
roof."
I don't hear none.
Blah blah blah. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. And while Larry can hear and see the boogeyman is on the roof putting on Christmas lights.
Yeah. So like a string of lights come down, and she's like, "Oh, there might be something up there."
Yeah, she's like, okay, so there might be something up there because I noticed that there's lights
Yes.
covering my entire home.
Yes.
So Larry goes up to investigate. Meanwhile, Francis goes off to get a ladder.
He's like, "I don't need that."
But he's like, I don't need that anyway. So Francis goes to get the ladder. Larry makes his way up on the roof, and he's quietly trying to tiptoe behind the boogeyman. And at this point, we see the boogeyman making noise. He's like, making all kinds of creepy noises while he's like unpacking the lights, and we
Right.
just see his back. And then so while Larry,
You know
is,
what I like about the
slowly-
boogeyman?
What's that?
It's not Magic Says doing all this. He's actually putting in his own time and work. Like he's filling up the gelatin, he's collecting the eggs, he's putting the dogs on the roof, and he's putting those lights
He's
up.
doing all that. On
He's
his
not using
own.
magic.
There's no magic afoot. It's all him.
That's how petty he is. He's like, I'm gonna do this myself.
It's all labor.
All him.
It's all labor. So while we just see his back, and he's like trying to fashion the lights onto the house, and Larry's slowly walking up onto him, but Larry steps on one of the bulbs and it cracks and it makes a noise. And then the boogeyman turns around and we see the full body picture of him
Oh,
for
hell no.
the first time.
Little kids everywhere, they're shitting their
Terror!
pants. If they made it
Horror!
this far, they've officially shat their pants.
Literally doo-doo in their underwear.
Doo-doo pants.
It is horror. It is petrifying. It is like literally one of the most scariest things I've ever seen.
And it's like not even. It's like, whoo, someone to fuck with. It's like excited to see someone to mess
and
with.
he's like excited. He's like, ha ha ha, you found me, bitch.
Yes, and it's got like dreadlocks, like plaited hair, but it's almost like stiff, like dreadlocks, long nails. It's like a palish purple. It's got really sharp teeth.
And it's like dressed in this like Victorian get up.
Yeah, and it's terrifying.
Really weird.
And at this point, when the boogeyman sees him, he like wraps with like a little flick. He wraps the string of Christmas lights
The
around
wires.
Larry's
Ankle.
ankle, and Larry falls off the roof, and he is able to grab onto like the
awning, the
yeah,
railing, whatever.
the railing, like the little cliff part of the roof, and he's like, Francis,
Do you see him, Fran? Help me, Francis, help me. And then so the boogeyman is like, Franny. And then of course Francis doesn't see any of it.
She's trying to get the ladder,
And she's trying to get the ladder up so that Larry can get down safely.
But before she gets out there, the boogeyman is like, "Can you see what's happening?" He
pulls out a mirror, and he's like,
he says some like
first of
rhyme
all,
thing.
he does like this thing where he rhymes. And he's like, she can't see me. I don't even remember.
She can't
the
see
rhyme.
me, but can you see the future? I don't know.
Give
And
it
he
up.
pulls out a mirror and like
shows Larry his reflection and how he is slowly turning into a boogeyman.
And I think he must say something about the fact like you about to be what I am in a couple.
He's like give it a minute, and you gonna be right up
We're
here.
Gonna be best
with
friends.
me. Yeah, we're gonna be partners in crime, baby.
You could do that house. I could do this house. You can grab that dog.
I got Middleburg. You got Centuryville, and
let's
then
freaking do it.
we'll just destroy everything in our path. So
Larry's freaked the fuck out.
Larry sees his reflection. Francis doesn't get there in time to give the ladder, and Larry falls.
But before that happens, or while that's happening, Frances comes out with the ladder. She drops the ladder when she feels like Larry's falling. Yeah. And then she drops the ladder into her parents' room, breaking their glass, awaking them. Yeah. They run outside and like
Larry's now disappeared. The boogeyman has disappeared.
No one can see him anyways.
And now it's just Frances with the lights that are now lit up. And it's just her standing
like
there.
The Christmas lights lit up, and you can tell all the lights around their houses, like all the neighbors' house,
blackout. It's
blackout. Except their house.
Except for their house.
With millions of Christmas lights.
And then so the mom comes out and she's like, Frances, what is this? And Frances really is left speechless.
She said
she doesn't know what to say at this point.
It's not me. So, at this point, they're extremely suspicious about Frances. And they probably at this point think, it's definitely her behind it. Whatever, like, small thing in their head is like, it can't be my daughter. It's got to be gone.
Right.
So, in the morning, the dad is out getting the newspaper, and he sees in the news about the blackout. And then he sees I think it's a picture of their house with their lights on, the Christmas lights on. And then soon after, he is swarmed by a bunch of reporters, and they're investigating the blackout and the fact that their house is the only house.
They got helicopters going around.
Girl.
You don't see the helicopters, but they add the helicopter noise in there. I'm like, this isn't helicopter news.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't that.
Is this the breaking news?
We don't need helicopters.
This is how boring this town is.
This is how boring Middleburg is. Y'all ain't got nothing else going on.
Girl.
But nonetheless, the dad is swarmed with the news reporters, and they're on the cover of the newspaper, and as they're trying to get the story, get the report, the dad runs inside to chaos in the kitchen.
And then once again, they have another family meeting, talk about what's going on. Francis, are you behind this? No, I'm not. Leave me alone. And I think one of them suggests, like, okay, let's just get out the house. Let's take a family drive to get away from all the reporters. And for whatever reason, Frances,
she's like, can I stay home?
Which is fine.
And then the dad, like, literally when she says, can I stay home, he looks like he wants to murder her.
No.
He's like, this is your fault.
No, but come on. Why would she stay home? The mom is like, let her stay home.
He's too aggressive.
They didn't let the older brother stay home. Because you know why? Because they think she's behind it. I wouldn't leave her in that house either.
I guess.
Why are you staying? But they let her stay home.
Nonetheless.
Hello? What's going on? But I guess the mom's trying to give her space. You know what? That's another thing. She's a middle child. So maybe that's why it's part of it. Because she's
a middle child and the only girl.
And I think, right. Ooh, that's a good point. And I think middle child, I wasn't that girl. But, middle child children, like they say, like to make, like cause trouble to get attention.
Yes. They like
and especially when your little brother has leukemia. It's like, how much? I need more attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. But anywho, so the family has gone off to their little drive, leaving Frances home alone. And she hears noise coming from the garage. She walks into the garage, and she is surprised to see an alive Larry because she thought he fell off the roof and died.
And she's like, you're all right. And he's like, well, I actually thought I was great, but that's
he's hilarious.
And then she was like, no, I thought you died when you fell off the freaking roof.
Yes.
And then so he kind of goes on to tell her, he's like, sweetheart, baby, I'm imaginary. There is no me dying. And then she's like, so you just kind of like stay young and live forever? And he's like, yeah, that's how it works. I make a friend. My friend grows up. They get old, and I find new friends.
Keeps me young.
He's like, keeps me young. That's the circle of my life.
So then she asks him, well, if you find a new friend, well, shouldn't you have found a new friend since Darwin's not your friend anymore? And he's like, Darwin got rid of me because of you too soon before he was ready. So that's my problem right now. I'm stuck in a limbo.
Yeah.
Basically.
And so he get on her ass once again.
Low key. Not as bad as the other time, but a little low key.
So he yelling at her, and she's like, well, what's all of this?
Yes.
And then so he is in the garage working on making the temperfuge.
As one should.
And then so he's breaking it down for her, and he's explaining it to her. And he's like, well, you see, if this coil goes into this nuclear mechanism and then out of the vacuum, that's how we catch the boogeyman.
And it'll turn into an old harmless old man, and we should be good to freaking go.
And she's like, so how do we know that this will work? And he's like, well, do you want a freaking play-by-play or something? And then he's like, it's in the book. And she's like, well, actually, I do. So then cut to, he shows her how the deceprifuge or whatever works. Temperfuge works. And it's giving real, Frankenstein vibes. He's in the white coat. He's got like the black goggles and he's talking funny. And the picture is now in black and white. And so he's going on, yada, yada, yada. He explains to her how it works. And then it kind of explodes. And he gets soured, like 2-month-old spoiled milk all over them. And he's like, well, I guess it needs more work. I'm not sure why this happened, but, back to the drawing board I go.
But it did get the milk.
And then so while he's trying to, like, wipe off the spoiled milk, why there's spoiled milk in the equation of the...
Okay.
The temperfuge, I don't know.
Well, he put fresh milk, and the temperfuge would make the boogeyman old. So the milk did get old. So
so
he's
that's so cool.
So it's like she was like, it smells like rotten milk. He's like, what? We got it working.
Oh, so it is working.
Yeah,
then.
I think it is working.
Oh,
I think he was like, I'm not sure why it exploded. But
but it did make the milk old.
Yeah.
That's what we needed it to do.
That's what we needed to do.
Great. So while he's wiping the spilled milk off of her, she's like, ow, you scratched me. And then so we look down at his nails. His nails have suddenly grown 10 inches.
Similar to the freaking boogeyman's nails, which is kind of weird because he's an imaginary person.
Which is crazy. So his nails are looking a little long and vicious.
But that's just normal, he says.
And then she's like, what's going on with your nails? And he's like, I bite them. But I've tried to stop. So they're just growing a little long. That's all. And then Francis is like, "You've been acting really weird."
Okay, well.
And then he's like, "Well, how do you know that, Francis?
You've only known me for a day.
Have you known any other imaginary people? I could be acting perfectly normal, and you wouldn't have any idea because you wouldn't know what to compare it to."
Mm-hmm. Also, she still hasn't. He asks her once again, "Do you know any other imaginary people?"
And then she's like, "Actually, I don't.
Never experienced this. Don't know what this is."
And I think before they got into the garage, he was like, he asked her again. He's like,
"You sure you didn't do anything to piss this guy off?"
The boogeyman? And she's like, No, I haven't.
Okay.
He's like, well, I don't know what this could be about then.
Yes. So even though Larry tries to play this whole fingernail thing off, he's also very concerned. He's like, when she walks away, he's like, oh, hell no, what's going on?
He's looking at his fingers in like pure fear,
confusion, and he cuts some. He like chops them off. Gross. So that night, like her father, like Francis' father said he was going to do, he invites the guidance counselor over, in hopes that he can help with Francis stop doing all these strange things, because of course they think she's doing it. So the teacher's at dinner, they're talking, blah blah blah. At one point, Francis excuses herself from the dinner table. And she goes in the kitchen, and she once again finds Larry. And this time, he's dressed as a chef. And he's making boogie goo. And apparently, I think earlier he was like, since the boogie monster or the boogeyman probably knows that we're onto him, he might not come out as much as we want him to. So that's why they make the boogie goo, because to attract it, to draw it out. Yeah.
Oh, when does he say that?
He says it like when they're in the garage.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I wrote that down somewhere, but I forgot to say it. I thought I did. So he's making boogie goo, which is bait for the boogeyman so it can come out, and it's disgusting.
She walks in the kitchen. Did we say they invited the guidance counselor? So the guidance counselor is sitting at the table. Frances has excused herself. She asks him, what is all of this, and he's like, super excited to tell her everything that's in it. It's like jalapeno peppers, burnt sugar, gym socks, sweat, iron, slugs, and a couple of different other things to make this horrendous elixir.
And the kitchen's a mess. It's smoky. It smells.
And then so he tells her that he used the blender as well to blend out the sweat from Bert's gym socks. And then she Frances asks him, well, you did wash out the blender, didn't you? And he's like, what? And then she's like, you washed it out, right? And he's like, girl, no, of course not.
Right. And at that point, her mom walks in.
And then her mom walks in, And because she smells the horrendous odor coming from the kitchen that is the boogie goo. And of course, when the mom walks in, Larry disappears. And the mom is like, Francis, what is all of this?
What's the smell?
What is that smell? What is this going on? What are you doing? And then Francis is like, it's for home ec. And the mom's like, you don't take home ec. And she's like, right. That's why I'm doing it at home. I think everyone should know how to cook.
Period.
And then the mom was like, but this doesn't smell like food,
Yes.
sweetheart. And then she's like, I think we need to really start having an honest conversation of what's going on right now. And then she's like, right now, Mom? And she's like, yes, right now. And she's like, you know what? Frances is like, you know what? You're right. I'll get this out of the kitchen. She tries to lift it up, get it out of the kitchen. It doesn't work. It weighs like a gazillion pounds.
And her mom, once again, is like, did we force you to grow up too fast? Maybe we should have held you back. Maybe it's the whole thing with Darwin B was sick. Can you talk to B about this? And she's like, no, Mom, everything's fine. Nothing of that affected me. That has nothing to do with what's going on right now.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. But before the mom can, have a breakthrough with Frances, she gets called away by her husband because the teacher is choking up something that was in her dessert.
So the dad made like this pudding, right? And
Yeah.
he used the blender that Larry also used for the sweaty gym socks. So there's like gym sock remnants in the pudding.
I thought of it was making throw up.
And so she's like eating, the poor counselor who they've invited over for dinner, not expecting to eat dirty gym socks as her, dessert, is now barfing on gym socks.
It's how does she eat that much of it? It's like a long bit of it.
It's like a long
She's like
string.
slowly pulling it out of her mouth. How does she eat that much of it? But
So Darwin's at the table. He's like, this is disgusting. Can I excuse myself? And the mom's like, yeah, sure.
So back in the kitchen, Larry gets out of the pot that he was using to make the boogie goo. And he comes out and he's like, God damn, did I put my foot in it? Like literally,
He's
like that. This tastes
This
good.
shit is delicious.
This shit is
bro.
kicking, bruh.
This shit is slamming. He's like licking his fingers. And then Frances comes out and she's like, all right, now what the fuck is going on?
Now 1 + 1 is equaling 2.
She's like, first your eyes were sensitive, then they started turning colors, then your fingernails, and now you're eating boogie goo. And then he's like, nope, Frances, don't even try it. Don't even start with me.
Exactly.
I'm not turning into a boogeyman. Do you understand me?
Shut your freaking mouth.
You shut your,
Your
Muppet
Muppet
mouth.
mouth. Okay?
You shut your
Muppet mouth. That's not what's happening to me. I don't know. You got your own problems, Frances, and you're not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to talk about mine. Anyway, he disappears once again.
And then so he disappears. He clicks out on her and disappears.
Yes,
That's his MO. Clicks out, disappears on her.
I will say, because he's turning to the boogeyman, that's another reason why he's angry. It's not like,
Yeah.
it's not a character for him. He's a very happy, high energy guy, and this is out of character for him.
This is out of character for Layer. So what does she like? Follow him or something?
Yeah, she follows him, and she finds him in Darwin's room, like laying on the ground.
Okay.
Like, hunched over in the ground.
And then so he's hunched over, and she's like, "You are turning into the boogeyman, aren't you?" And then so he like turns around.
No, not yet.
Oh.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Francis. He hasn't come up yet.
He's like hunched over. We can't
Yeah.
see his face. He's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about."
And then, so Frances starts reading from the boogie book, and she learns that the boogeyman is created when the imaginary friend stops believing in the imaginary person.
When the
too soon.
child
Oh,
stops believing in their imaginary friend too soon.
And at this point, he turns around. He's like, "It's your fault." Like, he blames her, rightfully so.
He's like, "This is all your
Your
fault."
fault.
And then so now we see him. He looks horrendous.
He's
His
got the teeth.
eyes are purple and green again. His skin looks weird. His teeth are old and rotten,
got
and
them.
his nails are back to like long and gross and creepy.
But luckily, before anything can get more intense, here comes Darwin. Darwin comes in the room. Why you in my room? I want to relax. It's time for me to lay down. And she's like, "Can we have the room, Darwin?" And he's like, "Okay, but I'm going to your room."
So now Darwin goes to Frances's room.
Yes.
But before he goes to Frances's room, at some point he steps into Boogie Goo.
Yeah, on his way up from when he excused himself from the table.
Yeah, so he
Lost the
steps
teacher.
into Boogie Goo, and he makes his way into Frances's room. Right?
Yes.
He's in Frances's room. He's chilling. He's vibing. He's playing with some toys. He's got Boogie Goo on his feet. He's sitting on her bed.
The edge of it.
Who lives underneath Frances's bed? The
I know.
Boogeyman.
Oh.
What is he smelling? He's smelling Boogie Goo.
Damn, he made some good boogie goo because that was quick.
And snatches Darwin right up
It's actually so Darwin is sitting
his ass up so quick
on like the edge of the bed. His little feet are dangling. I'm sure kids saw this part and they're like, I'm never dangling my feet anywhere. Dangling his little feet, and the boogeyman grabs Darwin by his feet and pulls him under. That is terrifying.
right into Boogie World.
And then, so the way that Larry and Francis know what's going on, because this is another creepy part. After Darwin leaves, Larry, for a sec, it takes him a moment, but then he starts to smell out the boogie goo, and he like crawls in the ground. He's like, I smell boogie goo, and like it's the creepiest thing
It's very dark.
ever. He's like crawling on it. It's who that part alone is like, this is too much for kids.
Yeah, he's going full-fledged boogie monster.
And she's like, I didn't. He's like, you must have stepped on it. He says it to Francis.
And she's like, I didn't track any boogie goo in here.
He's like,
and he's like, well, I smell it.
He's like, well, how did they get up here?
So
like,
he's
Darwin!
following the scent of the boogie goo, and he's like, he makes the realization it's Darwin.
Oh no.
So they go into Francis's room. They don't find Darwin,
Yes.
and they're like, oh my God. And then Larry is like, the boogeyman must have gotten him. He's in the boogie world now. And then Francis is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then
like, too much.
and then Larry's like, look, he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
He's not in this realm no more.
he's-
He's in a different realm.
It's in a different dimension.
And then she's like, bro, what? And he's like, look, you stay here. I'm going to go down there and get him. And then she's like, I'm not letting you go down there and try to save him without me. And then he's like, you can't come with me. And then she's like, I have to save Darwin. And then he's like, and he's like, I'm quickly turning into a boogie monster. I could boogie out completely on our way down there. It's not safe for you. And then she's like, I don't care what happens to me. And then Larry's like, but I do, Fran. I was like, oh, he cares?
And then she says, oh my God.
You were right.
Oh,
Larry.
yes.
She was like, look, I need to go down there. Remember earlier when we were talking about Darwin and him getting the bone marrow transplant? You were right. I was happy that it wasn't me and it was going to be Bert instead. I was so scared. I was so relieved.
And he goes, well, it's logical for people to be scared, Francis.
People get scared all the time, Francis.
Boom. Turn that around against you. I think this movie is about overcoming your fears and really enjoying your childhood.
Overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
and not rushing growing up so fast.
And don't let your leukemia brother, overshadow you. Just kidding.
So after they have this like moment of revelation, she reveals that she really was scared and she didn't want to give up her bone marrow.
Larry's still like, peace out.
Larry's like, okay, let's go down there.
No, well, he goes by himself. He's like, I'm going to Boogie World. Stay here.
Oh, he does?
He goes by himself. So he goes down to Boogie World. Mm-hmm. He disappears. Francis is like, okay, I want to follow him. She slowly creeps underneath the bed, and in there, she seems like this little, like a vortex.
It's like a portal.
It's like a portal.
And it's a very small hole.
Yes.
But it's like a glitch.
Yeah, the Matrix.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix.
This is why I love her dad. Well, before she goes into it, her dad comes out, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, what is going on? And she was like, fine. I'll tell you. You want to know what's going on? There's a boogeyman. He's the one who's doing all these tricks, and he just took Darwin down to Boogie World, and And he's like, so you want to talk this with your mom?
He's like, maybe it's better if you like talk to your mother
about this. And she was like, yeah, sure.
She's like, okay, sure. And then so the dad leaves, and then now she goes down to Boogie World.
I just love that he was like, maybe I don't want. Maybe I don't want an explanation to what's going on.
I don't want to do this.
I tried. Maybe your mom is right about something. Let's just let you figure this out. So yes, so she goes under there, and then she, on the other side of Boogie World, she climbs out onto the cliff, and Larry's there to greet her, and he's like, I just knew that you were going to follow me. And what is he wearing this time?
Indiana Jones?
Like a detective. Like what's the one with the
Inspector Gadget?
No, it's a books.
Curious George.
No, he solves the crimes.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sure, like a Sherlock Holmes type vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you got it off the first time.
I got it.
I
figured it out.
So she makes it to Boogie World, and she's very surprised to see how big it is. It's pretty big, and it's like filled with like everything that's underneath.
And then it's like huge. It's like a completely different world.
Yes.
And he was like, just imagine if you'd have had a queen size bed.
Oh yes.
And he's like, now that then we would have been in trouble.
Yes. And you see like old toys, old sandwiches. She sits in one. She's like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's just like everything.
Is it Indiana Jones? You might have been right. It is Indiana Jones.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it is Indiana
it's
Jones.
Indiana Jones.
I don't know why I got that eyeglass.
So they're out there though, and he's like in Indiana Jones gear while he's like half Larry, half Boogeyman.
Yes.
And they're ultimately trying to figure out how they're going to get to Darwin.
Yes. So he brought Darwin's toy car with him in his pocket, and before she got there, he pulled it out because once you're under, it was small in the human world, but it's huge here. It's a size car. My favorite part of this whole movie is he's like, okay, help me get the car going, and it's one of those cars you have to pull back to get going, and she's like, can't you just hook it up to your like battery that's on the, because he has the temprifuge
On his back,
but it has like, it's like, what's the stuff you use to hotwire cars, those little metal thingies.
We know what you're talking about.
And she's like, can't you just use it like that? And he's like, this is not like a electric car or like a whatever. This is a toy car. He's like, I bet you only played with educational toys when you was younger, huh? That gets me every time.
Now he read her the film.
He was like, I bet you only played with educational toys, huh? Because you don't know how this freaking toy work.
And then so they're back down in Boogie World again because we're playing it now.
Yeah.
And he asks her again.
Once again.
He asks her again. He keeps on trying to give her ways out.
And
he's like, she was like, so they're in the world. She almost gets eaten by something.
Oh yes, go ahead.
And then she was like, is that the boogie monster? And she was like, no, it's a sandwich. And she was like, why doesn't the boogeyman just leave me alone? And then Larry's like, well, this is the first time he asks her this question. And he's like, well, did you ever have an imaginary friend? And she's like, no,
don't.
And he's like, well, I don't know.
Never heard of it. Don't know what that is.
Maybe it's just a boogie thing.
Yeah. Because he asked her, like, you think he's going to hurt Darwin? And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure he's after you.
Right. Yeah. And then she's like, well, do you think the boogeyman's going to hurt Darwin? And he's like, no, he's just after you.
Clearly.
For what reason? I don't know. Because you're saying you've never had an imaginary friend. So I don't know what it could be.
In Khloe Kardashian terms, liar!
Liar. So they hop in the little motorized car and they're zipping through the underground world that is Boogie World. And as they're zipping through, Larry's turning like even
Francis
more.
looks back and he's like, ooh, the sun, the wind in my
boogie hair.
Yeah, and it's like his fingernails are super long. He's getting the dreadlocks. He's got the
now
eyes.
like, at first he was like maybe like 35% boogie. He's like
80,
55, 60.
He's got the looks. Look wise,
he's like 60% there.
Look wise, emotionally, I think he's still like 40. He's
Yeah.
not full emotionally.
He's not full boogie, but the look.
To me, he's like 90.
Is there, baby?
Yeah. To me, he's like 90%.
He's there. So once they, I guess, make it to where they need to be, like, I don't know.
The town
end of
center,
the road,
center of town,
the center of Boogie World.
Yes. Francis sees Darwin and he's trapped in a dirty sock that's like locked in there. It's like double knotted. So she's trying to like open it up for him. But then Francis gets distracted when the boogeyman appears, and it's like slowly like creeping onto Francis. So like I don't know. Did it want to kill her? I don't know what its plans were with her. But then Larry sees this happening, and then he like tries to put the temprifuge onto the boogeyman's fingernails, but then he realizes, oh no, because it's attached to an extension cord attached back into the human world,
and it got
unplugged, and we need electricity.
So the temprifuge at this point is literally no use for us. We spent all this time building this thing. And it has to be plugged up,
right?
Like what?
So after Larry and the boogeyman realize that the temprifuge is unplugged and it's not working, the boogeyman starts saying these rhymes at Larry and basically like, cross over, you'll have so much fun over here as a boogeyman. And Larry's like, I'm not a boogeyman yet. And while they're chit chat and doing their whole shebang, Francis gets up and the boogeyman's standing behind a book, this big old book, and Francis pushes the book onto the boogeyman, flattening him out. And she goes back to help Darwin get out from under the sock. And she's like, Larry, come help. She looks behind her. Larry has officially gone full boogeyman, and he's like, I want to eat you. I don't know what they would have done. Do they kill? I don't know. But he's like, huh?
He's boogieing out. He is the boogie monster.
Yes, it's
he
official.
Is full on boogie.
And then at this point, the original boogeyman bounces back and catches Francis like with like a net. And the two boogeymen have teamed up and they're like, yay, can't wait to kill them. So the original boogeyman takes Darwin. He drags him, Darwin, who's still in the sock. He drags him towards a cliff because I think he's gonna. I know he's gonna push Darwin off the cliff.
What happens when you die in Boogie?
I don't
worlds?
know. I think I would have to figure that out.
All right.
And this whole time Darwin's like he hears his sister Frances say Larry. He's like, who are you talking to? Who's Larry? Who's the boogeyman? What are you talking about? Because he can't see anything. And Darwin is by the cliff right now. And at this point, Frances is like, do you not remember your friend Larry? Call on Larry for help. He needs you. If you believe in Larry, clap if you believe in Larry.
And then Darwin, but then he's trying to like ration with her, and he's like, or reason with her, and he was like, yeah, but you told me not to believe in that. No. We ain't got time for all that. He was like, you told me to stop believing in Larry. No. We got to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Call out Larry's name. And then
he's like, Larry, I need you, Larry. He's like clapping his hand.
Larry. And then, of course, him, believing in his imaginary friend again, breaks the little boogeyman curse.
Yeah.
And Larry is transformed back into his regular schmegular self.
Yeah.
And he is now dressed up as a cowboy.
Yeah. So he's dressed up as a cowboy. His original imaginary self. So at this point, Larry and the boogeyman start fighting. They're fighting with the boogeyman uses his nails as swords. Larry uses a pen. The pen is mightier than the sword. It's not. So at this point, while they're fighting, I think Darwin might still be in the sock. I'm really sure. But Frances is like, okay.
Yeah, he's still in the sock. Still in that freaking sock.
Yes. So Frances is like, okay, I need to get this temprifuge hooked up. She uses her brain. She's got a big one. And she starts to create like a power source, like using the stuff under her bed. I think she finds like an old battery and she finds some wires. She hooks them up. And she's able to use that against the temprifuge to get it working. So,
yeah. And meanwhile, Larry's trying to battle off the boogeyman.
And Frances gets the boogeyman's attention while it's fighting off Larry. And the boogeyman turns around and she puts the little clip thing, the boogeyman.
Extensions, the wires, who cares?
Onto its nails. They turn on the temprifuge.
The boogeyman's nails.
Yeah. And the boogeyman starts to turn into an old woman. And then while it's turning into an old woman, it says, Franny, help me, Franny.
I'm so old.
Then it's like turning into an old woman.
I
gray
can't
hair.
even rhyme anymore.
Yes. But somehow the temprifuge like overpowers or like shorts and like it stops working and the boogeyman turns back into like its evil self. And
so much for that.
And then I don't know he must have said something, but Frances is like, okay, there's only one person in this world who ever called me Franny. I've been hearing it out the whole movie. I've been trying to avoid it as much as possible.
I've been trying not to accept it, but here we go.
I didn't want to face that this was all my fault, she says.
Stop it, Zoe!
And she's like, what?
And then she's like, Larry's like, what? Huh?
Who?
Zoe. And then she's like, that's the only person who I've ever call me Franny. And then she was like, I didn't want to believe it and I didn't want to admit it was you, but I know it's you, Franny. I'm sorry that I stopped believing in you. I'm sorry once Darwin got sick, I got scared and I realized I had to grow up for him. So I stopped playing with you and I'm sorry. But I forgive you, Zoe, and I want you to forgive me.
And then at this point, the boogeyman is like, I like the words you're saying, honey. And he's like calm. And Frances reaches out her hand to hold the boogeyman's gross, long,
disgusting,
creepy hands.
Creepy, filthy hand.
And the boogeyman transforms back into Zoe.
A beautiful young girl.
Yes. And then while that happens, Zoe, Frances, Larry, and Darwin, they get transformed back into the human world.
And I love how she's like in the same outfit, just like as the boogeyman. It was just like dirty and dingy and like
exactly right. And at this point, back in the human world, Darwin can finally see Larry again. He's like, "Oh my God, Larry! I remember you.
Oh my God, I missed you.
Yes,
so good to see you again, buddy."
Yes, and they're like reunited. Before we can get more into like this backstory, the parents come in, and they're like, "Frances, we're here to apologize. We've just learned that the same hoopla, antics, whatever the hell has been going on in this town is also occurring in another city. I think it's called Centerville." So we know it wasn't your fault.
Middleburg and Centerville.
It's like a superhero town or something like that.
They're hilarious for that.
They are. So sorry about that.
They're like, the same stuff has been going on, the exact same thing. And then, they all look at each other like, oh, shit.
Another boogeyman.
Another boogeyman afoot.
Yes. And at this point, they take Darwin. Like, Darwin, it's time for... And then Darwin was like, it's not something, it's the boogeyman. You know, like,
ha, ha, ha,
come on, Darwin, it's time for you to go to sleep. And then on its way out, Darwin says to Larry, the parents don't realize this, but it's like, are you going to be around? He's like, I'm always going to be around whenever you need me.
And the parents think he's talking to, not Zoe, Frances. And they're like, she's your sister. She's always going to be around. Yeah. And then Darwin says, I'm so happy I can believe in you again, talking to Larry. And then the parents think that he's talking to Frances.
They're like, me too.
And they're like, we're happy we can believe in you again too, Frances.
She's like, what?
She's like,
y'all hated me?
Gee, thanks. So now the three of them, the three teenagers, are left in the room together. Zoe, Larry, and Frances.
Yes.
And
Zoe comes out behind the door as the parents leave, and she's like,
So what's the story on the boogeyman here?
Actually, it's Boogie Person.
Yeah? So who are you? Personally?
It's Zoe. Zoe's my imaginary friend.
You told me you never had an imaginary friend.
She lied. Why is that, Blair? Just because you hang around with a 7-year-old doesn't mean you have to be naive.
Zoe and I used to play all the time when I was little. Then Darwin got sick. When we couldn't do anything to make him better, that's when I decided I had to grow up. I had to stop believing in what wasn't real.
And you started to turn into a boogeyman.
and then while that's going on, Larry gets another message from the guy inside his head. And he was like, I need you to go take care of this, boogeyman situation in Centerville. And then Zoe was like, well, since I saw how you handled me, just a baby boogeyman, how about I help you tackle this other boogeyman in Centerville? Because I'm assuming this is like a full experienced boogeyman. And you're going to need some help.
Right.
And Francis, or not boogeyman, Boogie Person. That's my favorite part in some movie.
A boogie person.
Because he calls her a boogeyman. She's like, a boogie person.
She's like, I'm not a boogeyman. I'm a boogie person.
Yes, because I think if we gendered this boogie person correctly, we probably could have helped us sooner. Because she's like, I don't know no boogie men, but I do know a boogie woman. Maybe that was the problem there. So Francis walks Zoe and Larry outside. Zoe apologizes, and Francis is like, it's okay. And she's like, I hope we can still be friends. You can hang out. And then Zoe and Larry look at Francis like, oof, we can't be friends anymore. You're never going to see us again. You're all grown up. You don't need us anymore.
Right.
She's like, then what the hell have we been doing this whole time? What? And
then she's like, but I can see you now. And then she's like, yeah, but you don't need us anymore.
You don't need us, love.
And she's like, but I want to stay friends with you guys forever. Da, 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 da. And then Larry's like, okay, let me shut this bitch up. And then so he goes over there and he kisses her. He looked really hot doing it. I was like, oh. I feel like he was like, she's like whining. How can I shut her up? Let me kiss her.
I feel like he's like, he's like, I know the steps of children. It's imaginary friends. And then now it's time for you love boy stage. And let me go ahead and push you in that direction.
Let me go lean you.
You're over
that.
Imaginary friends. You're into boys now.
See
what just happened there?
Do you see the transition
it's
now?
Sexuality.
We're here.
Yes.
That's where we are.
that's where we are. I wrote, sir, you're like 800 years old, if I had to guess.
Yeah, but he's the spirit of a child, of a teenager.
I know, but he's been alive for a long time.
That doesn't make... That's different.
I guess. He's like, this is what I have to do.
He's like, sometimes I have to do this. Stefan and...
Gross.
And freaking Damien are like 100 years old. They were dating Elena.
Mm-hmm. Fucking Edward and Bella. Gross. Why does he want a teenager in high school?
He was a teenager for his life.
I do like when people are like, I know they got to go back to school, sure, but why don't they just go to college? Why must they go to high school?
High school forever.
Why must they? Because you can go to college forever. You can go to college forever and no one probably notice.
This is true.
Maybe a teacher
you
or
could
two.
go to all different colleges everywhere.
Yes, you could go to.
You could experience Harvard, Cornell.
You could go to the same college with different business, art, humanities, engineering. No one would know. No one would freaking know. They wouldn't. Who's gonna know?
Someone would know eventually.
Maybe, but
this guy's been around here for a while.
Yeah, they'll be like, they'll be like, he looks like a student I had 5 years ago in arts, but now he's an engineer. Can't be him. But anywho, so at this point, after the kiss, Frances, realized. I think she even says, maybe I am too old for an imaginary friend.
She did.
Yeah, I think she's like, yeah, I think she like whispers. She's like, maybe I am too old for imaginary friend.
Oh,
and
I like boys now.
Before Larry leaves, the last message he gives her is, just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to get old. Calm your tits, girl. I know you're 14. Calm down.
Okay, that's actually a lie. I was like, I've never seen anyone in a rush to grow up before, but that's not true. But at such an alarming rate as her.
To me, people want to grow up, but not to what she was becoming. She's ready to become the president of the United States. People are like, I want to grow up to go out and party and do my own thing. She's like, I want to grow up to cure, I don't know, just like to be the most boring person in the world.
Like, so stupid and dumb.
So as Larry and Zoe disappear, they turn on the Christmas lights, and Frances turns around to see like a beautiful Christmas lights. I think they're on the houses now, and it's like gorgeous. And then that night, Darwin and Frances are sleeping. Darwin has a nightmare due to all, the trauma that he's been going to. He was kidnapped, stuck in a dark place. It's a lot. Excuse me. So he heads to his loving, darling sister, Frances's room. And he's like, I was scared, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, did you ask Larry what to do? And he's like, yeah, he told me to come see you. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. And the two, they fall asleep in each other's arms. And behind them on like the bedboard, Larry and Zoe are watching over them with a smile. And the movie fades away.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
Oh, LOL. You said you watched it 3 times.
I guess I didn't get this
paying
far.
attention.
I guess I thought like after she kissed him, that was the end of it.
Oh yeah, they have a little.
But she does ask like, well, how? It doesn't matter.
Did you ask Larry? What Larry said?
No, like when she was like, I'm never gonna see you guys again, but you just said that you would still be friends with Darwin, and they were like, yeah, Darwin can still see us, bitch.
But you cannot.
But you cannot.
That's for him, not for you.
Damn, and that is really sad, though.
Yeah, because I'm sure she's gonna remember this.
Oh yeah,
I'm assuming some other kids will grow up and don't remember this, but maybe since she was older,
she's never gonna forget that. I would hope not.
Never. I would be terrified. That's creepy. Now I want to know what the Boogeyman's person's end game was. What was your end game?
There is no end game when you're evil. You just do it.
I wonder how long he was gonna do
the
this
voice
for.
in their head was telling them
Murder.
Until they died.
Death.
This is a dark movie, Jordan. They were ready to push a kid off a cliff.
I know. She could have went to an insane asylum. She could have been like, I'm going crazy. Let me jump off a cliff.
This movie is very dark.
No one believed her. She lost a friend.
She lost her friend.
She's about to lose her family.
We don't know everything. She was about to lose it all.
They was going to kick her out of school.
All of it.
It's crazy.
It's sad.
And
okay, well, this has been fun.
As always, I always forget to say.
So.
Don't forget to rate, view,
subscribe, rate,
tell
review,
your friends, download.
comment, leave a comment, even if it's a bad comment. We don't care. Tell your friends about us.
I do care.
We love you guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Go watch a movie. Happy Halloween. Spooky.
Oh, happy Halloween. I love bats. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.